Welcome, welcome, crew, guys, gals, ghouls, and other worldly beings. Let's climb aboard the mothership, secure our tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. I'm your ghostess with the mostest, TessaTNT, broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. It is a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to have you hanging out with me on the airwaves tonight. If you want to listen in your free time, whether you're working it or working out, feel free to listen to me on Spreaker.com and wherever you listen to your broadcasts or podcasts on or at We Are Paradox Media. So tonight it's story time with me, TessaTNT. I did not do a show last night because I was working overnight security with all the farm animals. Cows, goats, lambs, sheep, hogs, pigs. I got to see the chickens and the turkeys and the geese and the ducks. I saw from a distance the rabbits, but I didn't go in and check them out too closely because I had to get back to work. But I can't believe how tiny some of those chickens are, and the turkeys were funny. They were just all puffed up, trying to look all big and bad, and man, they got a trippy ass alien face. Like, sometimes you can see the beak, but most times you can just see that flesh dangly thing that comes off their face. It's kind of predator-esque, but not. I saw a goose in a bunch. I think there was like 5 in this bunch, and this one had a misformed beak, so it was super cute. Kind of reminded me of Elvis, but not. Not too much shenanigans going on last night. We had 2 goats get out, and then we had a pig get out, but both were able to be contained and put back in a quick manner. Luckily, we were on top of it and not dinking around doing something else, but it just seems like it gets smaller and smaller every year, which is sad. Usually on Saturdays, or is it Fridays? I think it's on Fridays. They have a concert, and yeah, usually it's like an older band that a lot of younger people probably wouldn't recognize, but they didn't do a concert this year, so that was a cut in hours for a lot of people. And then the Demolition Derby will still happen, but not at the fairgrounds here in Durango. They'll be happening in Ignacio, Colorado. So if you like cars going bang bang, wrecking into each other and flinging mud and smoking and doing all kinds of random carish things, come check it out next Saturday. Ignacio, Colorado. You can look it up on the internet if you like. I'm sure somebody will do a live feed of it as well. But yep, some fun for the end of the summer. We're all going to be going to Denver this coming week here on Wednesday, which is exciting. But what if the rumors are true? What if, in fact, we will lose gravity on Wednesday? Wouldn't that be strange? The planetary lineup and the solar eclipse and whatever else is supposed to supposedly go into that whole thing, causing seconds or minutes or however long they're saying worth of weightlessness. I would have to hug a tree, I think. But yeah, supposedly that's gonna be on the Wednesday. I don't know. What do you think? Alright, so before we get to our book, Out There Screaming, an anthology of new black horror edited by Jordan Peele, there was an article I wanted to read about scary movies. And it's like the funniest thrillers or something like that. Here, let me pull it up and see. I've already forgotten the title. The best horror comedies everyone should watch, including you. Alright. This is by Chris Hinton. On Looper. Follow him if you could or would like. The world can be an awfully dreary place sometimes. One rife with contention and a painfully depressing news cycle, escapism in the form of cinematic entertainment can sometimes be the best bet to assuage the negativity that occasionally pervades the human experience. In the eyes of some horror films can be or add to the bleakness. But to those who appreciate the genre to the fullest, who find beauty in the practical effects, laughter in the preposterousness, and a wink from the monster as it consumes its prey, mixing comedy amidst the images of misery, death, and chaos, can have the opposite effect. Lost among the darkness and the macabre themes, it just might be helping us cope with our own adversities. But it takes a true artist to perform the wizardry necessary for successfully layering the touchstones of horror with satire, irony, or a bit of sarcasm to instill levity and laughter in scenarios that may seem hellish on their surface. When done properly, magic takes shape in the form of a raucously good time laughing at the dread of others on screen. The best of these films achieve immortality, creating cult followings that, ironically, make sure they'll never die. Horror comedies come in all shapes and sizes. Some of them revel in over-the-top gore, satirizing the bloody tales of a certain sect. These horror comedies have become lovingly dubbed as splatstick comedies by some fans. Other films under the horror comedy banner might parody some of the greatest horror flicks to grace cinema, while breaking the fourth wall a bit. Whatever the case may be, there's something for everyone who loves both genres. Here are the best horror comedies that everyone should see at least once. Evil Dead 2, circa 1987. Sam Raimi spooked audiences far and wide with 1981's The Evil Dead. The horror film focused on a group of friends who stay in a remote cabin in rural Tennessee. What they find in the cabin is a demonic book and the recorded ramblings of an archaeologist. While playing the records, the group inadvertently summons ancient demons who possess and torment the vacationers. Evil Dead 2 took a black comedy horror approach to a similar story. Bruce Campbell portrayed the character of Ash Williams, just like in the previous film, who eventually became the tortured hero of the story. This time, Ash is visiting the remote cabin with his girlfriend. After unleashing demonic forces through playing the archaeologist's tape once again, all hell breaks loose. Ash's girlfriend is quickly possessed. He must fend off the demons and does so in humorous ways. At one point, Ash's own hand is possessed, causing him to fight with and then sever it. Even after removing the corrupted limb, it still continues to attack the mock Ash. The film is littered with hilarious moments of Ash scrambling to defeat the evil. It's surely one of the greatest splatstick films of all time and has garnered a massive fan base in the decades since its release. And I do believe they did a series on it. And then we just had another Evil Dead movie come out this summer. If you guys didn't see it, you gotta see it. It was great. It was great. Army of Darkness, 1992. Here we have another Evil Dead film. So, a direct sequel to Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness depicts Ash trapped in the past. The ending of the prior film depicted the wayward character being pulled through a portal to the past along with the rest of the evil. He's now trapped in the Dark Ages and reluctantly agrees to help warring kingdoms fend off the demonic incursions of the Kandarian demons. Humorously, Ash explains his methods to the Knights of the Past for eliminating evil using his boomstick, aka shotgun, and his chainsaw-wielding arm. He also takes advantage of his future knowledge and pitifully attempts to pose as a womanizing hero. The grocery store clerk turned demon slayer sets off on a quest to defeat the evil so that he can return home. Eventually, Ash does find his way home, only to return to his reckless demon-fighting ways decades later in the Ash vs. Evil Dead Stars series, which further amps up the gore and humor of original films. Psycho Goreman, circa 2020. Psycho Goreman positions itself as campy, B-style horror comedy using the most ridiculous practical effects for gore and alien monstrosities. The film features two young siblings, Mimi, Nita, Josie Henna, and her older brother, Luke Owen Meyer. Despite her young age and stature, Mimi is anything but a pushover, constantly belittling her brother. Eventually, the two discover a gem in their backyard while digging. Later, an alien warlord emerges who was imprisoned on Earth due to his attempts at galactic conquest. He quickly realizes he can't harm the two children because Mimi possesses the gem that allows her to command the alien. Throughout the film, Mimi bosses the alien warlord around and names him Psycho Goreman. The idea that a feisty young girl holds the fate of the galaxy in her hands and carelessly wields it like the small child she is brings some true creativity and moments of levity to the concept. Eventually, Psycho Goreman opens up to the youngsters, sharing his origins and the reasons for his anger toward life in the universe. His enemies track him down and attempt to destroy him once and for all, but not if Mimi has anything to say about it. Fans of practical effects and campy horror will enjoy this strange, surreal sci-fi romp. Dude Bro Party Massacre 3 in 2015. This guy looks kind of like, oh my gosh. I can't believe I can't remember his name right now. From SNL back in the 70s and early 80s, maybe? I'm not sure if he made it past the 70s. He was one of the Blues Brothers, so maybe he did make it into the 80s. Oh, I almost had it again. This looks like it could be his son or grandson. Holy shnikes. Alright. Yeah, it would have to be grandson. To be clear, there isn't a first or second film preceding Dude Bro Party Massacre 3. This part of the joke out the gate and gives you an idea of the humor you can expect. The intro to the film states that Dude Bro Party Massacre 3 was a film shown only once, late night, and only reason it continues to exist is due to the solitary individual who taped it on his VCR. The film is grainy like a VHS tape and even has fake commercials interspersed throughout. Belushi. Is it John Belushi? Is who he looks like. Dude Bro Party Massacre 3 follows Brent, Alec Owen, who is looking to find out who murdered his twin brother Brock. Brock was previously part of a fraternity, so Brent joins the fraternity himself in hopes of tracking down his brother's killer. The film is wild and over the top, with jokes reaching absurd levels, such as referencing the fraternity's junior year prank where they blew up a dam and drowned an entire town. In fact, their pranks, which always result in collateral damage and many deaths, go unpunished by the school's leadership. A serial killer by the name of Motherface, Olivia Taylor Dudley, emerges to take retribution on the fraternity. Brock, Brent's brother, was one of the first murders. This film takes absurdity and cranks it up to level 10. Some may not appreciate the nonsensical humor at play, but regardless, the film makes its mark in the realm of horror comedy. Dead Alive, 1992. Also known as Brain Dead in New Zealand, Dead Alive is the product of a young Peter Jackson, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. This horror comedy presents itself as one of the goriest films ever made. After an explorer manages to capture a creepy creature known as the Sumatran rat monkey, the Wellington Zoo takes it into its new exhibit. Meanwhile, Lionel Cosgrove, Timothy Bone, takes his overbearing mother to the local zoo. In a twist of fate, she is bitten by the rat monkey, begins deteriorating, and turns into a zombie. Lionel's mother kills her nurse, along with other staff in the house who also resurrect as zombies. Lionel's mother kills her nurse, along with other staff in the house, who also resurrect as zombies. Lionel constantly tries to keep the spread of the zombie plague under control, but nothing ever seems to go his way. At one point, an actual pile of gore reanimates as an undead creature and attacks. The level of craziness in this film brings its humor to something supremely disgusting and horrific. Fans of horror films should ensure they've viewed this film at least once in their lives. I cannot say I have, but Peter Jackson, I think you're gonna have to look that up. What We Do in the Shadows, circa 2014. Framed as a mockumentary, What We Do in the Shadows tells the story of 4 vampires who live as roommates. The film stars Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi as 2 of the vampire roommates who seek to navigate life as the undead, depicting them via confessionals that chronicle a daily existence filled with squabbling and bickering over trivial things. They also attempt to relate to humans and showcase the particularities of each vampire and their feeding habits. Filled with witty banter and jokes from Clement and Waititi, it's unlike any other horror comedy before it. The film features other facets of classic horror monsters, including a pack of werewolves who are constantly chaining themselves down so they won't roam ravenous throughout the hillside. The werewolves have a humorous beef with the vampires that devolves into name-calling and petulant playground behavior between the groups. What We Do in the Shadows is a must-see for fans of the classic horror monsters. The success of the film also inspired a TV series on FX under the same name that is well worth checking out. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. I have seen this, and I highly recommend it. It is funny. It is quite indeed a funny horror thriller. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil 2010, thanks to the films like The Chainsaw Massacre and The Hills Have Eyes, hillbillies and rural folk get a bad rep. Tucker and Dale, 2 well-intentioned friends, experience this firsthand. A group of college kids head to the West Virginia area to go camping. Along the way, they run into the titular characters and, instantly creeped out by the pair, continue on their way to their campsite. Little do they know that Tucker and Dale have a vacation home not far from their campsite. A series of ill-perceived, unfortunate scenarios occur that lead the college kids to believe that Tucker and Dale are evil, deliverance-type hillbillies set out to murder them. Moments that involve the pair saving a drowned girl encountering someone who trips into a wood chipper by mistake are viewed by the college kids as horrific, hostile acts of kidnapping and murder. Throughout the film, these teens attempt to thwart a non-existent threat, while Tucker and Dale attempt to piece together the situation they found themselves in. The characters are charming and funny, and the scenarios are a hilariously horrific blend of bad timing and misperception. Very funny indeed. Hatchet, 2006. While you'll usually see Hatchet listed as a /horror film, it's also very much a comedy, albeit one well-versed in its genre trappings. Written and directed by Adam Green, Hatchet tells the story of some tourists who embark on an illicit boat excursion through a haunted swamp outside of New Orleans. The legend of the swamp tells of a murderous man who was accidentally killed by his own father. Inexplicably immortal or supernatural by nature, the man, Victor Crowley, returns time and again to disembowel anyone who enters his swamp. The film is overstuffed with cameos from horror icons including Kane Hodder, aka Jason Voorhees, Robert Englund, known as Freddy Krueger, and Tony Todd, Candyman. Ben Schaefer, Joel Moore, and his friend Marcus, Dion Richmond, wind up on the boat tour thanks to Ben's desire to do something different to distance himself from the Mardi Gras festivities. As expected, the boatload full of people find themselves being hunted by Crowley. The vengeful monster kills his victims in the most ridiculously over-the-top ways, as the absurdity adds to the morbid humor and frequently hilarious banter of people attempting to survive the terror. Hatchet spawned 3 sequels, each more absurd than the rest. Zombieland. Oh my gosh. You gotta double tap that. Maybe even triple tap it. Zombieland is circa 2009. Released in 2009 just as zombies in popular culture were once again rising from the dead to find renewed popularity, Zombieland features 4 lively characters, each identified only by the city they hail from: Columbus, Jesse Eisenberg, Tallahassee, Woody Harrelson, Wichita, Emma Stone, and Little Rock, Abigail Breslin. Columbus narrates the film with a quirky demeanor and sarcastic wit. He fixates on the OCD rules that he has created for surviving the apocalypse, which include cardio, being able to run long distances, or the double tap, ensuring a zombie is dead with an extra bullet in the brain. Many of these rules ring true for most horror films, so it's fun to see references to common tropes in horror, particularly those audiences so often wish the on-screen characters would adhere to. As these 4 unlikely survivors travel the countryside reluctantly sticking together, they encounter surreal scenes. A memorable set piece involving an amusement park, not nearly enough Twinkies, and the possibly zombified Bill Murray. Eventually, they form a bond that continues into the film's worthwhile sequel, Zombieland Double Tap. I think I've seen it, but I'm not sure now. I'm gonna have to watch it again just in case. But I know I've seen Zombieland repeatedly because I love Woody Harrelson and I love that movie. Scary Movie 2000. Released at the turn of the century and forming its own little cottage industry of horror spoofs, Scary Movie capitalized off the popularity of the Wes Craven horror flick Scream, the comedy from Keenen Ivory Wayans for several of the sequels. Hold on. The comedy feels like a Zucker type parody of Craven's movie. David Zucker would take over from Keenen Ivory Wayans for several of the sequels, as teens are stalked and murdered by a serial killer adorned in a stoner-like variation on Ghostface mask. The lipstick-style humor is prevalent throughout the film, with plenty of references to other late 90s films, pop culture touchstones as well. While the film focused on parodying the overall plot of Scream, there are jokes that center on I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Sixth Sense, The Blair Witch Project, The Matrix, and others. The film would have sequels of varying quality and impact, and the series helped make household names out of folks like Marlon Wayans, Shawn Wayans, Anna Faris, and Regina Hall. Krampus. That's a good one. I like that one. This is circa 2015. The holiday season is a joyous time, one that renews our desire to be better, more giving people. Or does it? Michael Dougherty's film Krampus focuses on a family who aren't exactly on the nice list of Santa Claus as they fight and bicker, belittle each other, and wallow in their own misery and selfishness. The Ingle family does, however, have one among them who longs for a time when Christmas was celebrated the way it should be, with family who care to be in each other's company, enjoying the traditions of the season. Little Max, MJ Anthony, is bullied by his cousins and ignored by the remainder of the family. After he can deal with the dysfunction no longer, he angrily tears up his letter to Santa and throws it out the window. Gradually, the Ingle family is besieged by haunting tokens of the season, including ravenous gingerbread cookies, demonic toys, and the ancient evil himself, Krampus. The film's dark humor comes about in the shape of the loathsome bunch being picked off one by one, as the creepy Krampus hauls them away to the depths of the hell he emerged from, watching the self-professed rough-and-tumble Uncle Howard, David Koechner, be bested by possessed holiday pastries as a highlight, and just one memorable instance of this ridiculous family unit receive their well-deserved Christmas comeuppance. Merry Christmas. Gremlins 2, the new batch. Gremlins introduced audiences to the cute, cuddly Mogwai named Gizmo, and the manic monsters who accompanied him if you fed him after dark, or after midnight. The sequel ratchets up the insanity of the first film substantially, bolstered by jokes about everything from Donald Trump to Hulk Hogan to late-night horror hosts and cooking shows. This time around, the mischievous creatures take over a lab and proceed to wreak havoc while killing some of the staff. Each gremlin has its own personality, many mimicking humans. We also have a bat gremlin, a talking gremlin, a lady gremlin, and one that seems inspired by Daffy Duck. As the humans desperately try to rain sunlight down upon them, the clever critters take over an entire building, resulting in sheer anarchic chaos. In the minds of some, Gremlins 2 was a disappointment. For others, it's a minor masterpiece of ambition that took the franchise to a whole new level. Mogwai. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. I love the original. This one did have some funny things in it, though. Just not as good or funny or scary as Gremlins. Period. On period. Shaun of the Dead. Da-ga-da-ga-da-da-da-da. This is circa 2004. Making a play on Dawn of the Dead, Edgar Wright's Shaun of the Dead stars Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, who play the characters of Shaun and Ed. They find themselves amidst a zombie apocalypse, struggling to survive. The two are slackers at best, constantly looked down upon by those in their lives, and the events of the film give them a chance to transcend their miserable realities, dare to be great, and kill a slew of zombies along the way, taking cover in a pub among their friends, associates, and Shaun's former flame. The film delivers gags with a clever script and a talented cast. The zombie apocalypse has never been so much fun, and although the stakes may be ultra serious, the film never treats it that way. In the end, even the zombies themselves are trivialized. Shaun of the Dead is a worthwhile watch, one that has ascended to the upper echelons of the genre. It is so funny, you guys. It even features a part where Having a Good Time by Queen is playing. And yeah, it's just like they're whacking these zombies in time to this song. It's great. You gotta watch it. You gotta. The Cabin in the Woods. Writer Drew Goddard, Lost, and the Buffy Vampire Slayer TV show made his directorial debut with a remarkably brilliant premise of exposing the origins of the slashers, monsters, and imperiled teens we've all come to expect from the horror genre. With The Cabin in the Woods, Chris Hemsworth, Kurt Vaughn accompany some buddies on respite at a remote cabin for the weekend. Little do they realize the friends are about to become part of an ancient sacrificial scenario. The film is filled with too many twists and turns that deserve to never be spoiled, but here's the highest praise Woods could receive. If you haven't yet seen the film for the first time, consider us jealous of all you're about to uncover. The clever script contains references to horror of all kinds, and the more familiarized you are with the genre, the more you'll get out of it. The film is dark, bloody, but impossibly hilarious at times, as it breaks down a world of horror stories popularized by the film, then constructs a wholly new narrative around them. That was good. You can subscribe on Looper to these guys. Yeah. That's a good list. Like, this one, The Cabin in the Woods, looks familiar, but I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna have to go back after we have our time together reading our book. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and make a list. I have so many lists going on in this office. It is insane. It is crazy, I tell you, crazy. Alright. Out There Screaming, edited by Jordan Peele. This is an anthology of black horror. It has been amazing thus far. I hope you agree. Ooh. Pretty sure we got to part 7. Let me double check this really quick. 7. It occurred to me now that I was but a pauper, though I'd never lived to experience the effects of my poverty. It was an uneventful week, but I also felt something akin to bliss. The worst of life hovered behind me now. I went to work and came home, smoked cigarettes on my front porch. Sometimes I worked alongside my employees or my business partners, and I felt a twinge of shame or guilt at the coming financial crisis. I had incidentally authored for them, and I'd never see their disbelief. Round midnight, in the hours before I was to join my brother, the steak I had for dinner sat like a boulder in my stomach, and I roiled in my bed, unable to find sleep. I listened to the bumps and knocks of the house settling all around me, sounds I rarely considered previously. As I tossed, I heard a tapping from downstairs. At first, I dismissed it as more of the house's noise, but it came consistently and wouldn't stop. The tapping was coming from the basement. No, the living room, I thought. I looked out the window and saw nothing. The noise was too intentional to be a wild animal, or a branch, or the wind. Perhaps a prankster, or someone attempting thievery. I owned my father's shotgun now. I loaded it with shells and walked softly down the stairs. When I opened the door, I saw a shadow, shambling away from the house. The figure turned at the sound of me. With a few stuttering steps toward me, he was out of the dark, and the light of my porch caught his face. My chest fluttered in both excitement and fear. It was like watching myself drawn by a 5-year-old. The features of my face experienced a bloat now, my countenance swollen into a death mask. I looked like a horrid stuffed doll. My head, where the bullet entered, was dented like a car's bumper after an accident. A hole the size of my fist adorned my chest. I didn't know whether to point my gun or to hold my arms open wide for a hug. "Brother," the dead Jamal said in a drawn whisper. "Brother." I dropped my shotgun and rushed to my twin's side. I placed my arm around his shoulder and walked him inside to my couch. "Cold," he said. "Him cold." I placed a blanket atop Jamal's shoulder. He shrugged it off, shook his head. "Jamal," I said. But how? How? Wrong question. Distress. Phil, distress. Your distress. 1,000 bees in my head, brother. I'm trying to keep it together. Take back my mind. Feel impossible. The hunger. I hunger. Didn't want you to see me like a beast. Wanted control. Of my mind. Not safe. The hunger call. Felt your distress, I think. Needed to see you before I lose it. I gripped my brother's hand as we did when we were children before we became too grown, too tough-hearted to hold each other's hands. It felt as cold as if he had plunged his head into the river on a sub-zero degree day. I looked into his face and his eyes, and at first all I could see was unmoving death. But I had to squint, and eventually I saw a tiny flame of compassion, a love for me so powerful it survived even the loss of his life. It made me feel ashamed. My brother returned to make sure I was okay while I arranged to transform my pain into violence and export it as death to as many people as I could. All those humans I planned to destroy, those beautiful lives that had done nothing to me. I stood and began to pace nervously back and forth in front of my brother. I wanted to clear my mind of the shame, of the anxiety, of the visions of those people dying because of my inability to accept the weight of my dead family. My mind, though, refused to run blank. The imagined faces of the murdered haunted me like a memory. They pulled me to hell. "Sit, brother," my twin said, and I did, again gripping his cold hand. "I won't keep," he said. "Hunger always wins. Him fine, it's fine. Shoot when him gone." Jamal pointed to his dented head, and I couldn't dream of subjecting him to more violence. I kissed my twin's decaying face, and then I said, "Brother, tell me everything you remember." Jamal had tickets to the river and the beat festival at Biman Plaza, but he was late that day. He was always late. His chronic tardiness remains one of the only traits I'm glad we didn't share. His girlfriend Shanti, tired of this, We were all tired of it, and she vowed to leave without him if he didn't arrive on her doorstep at the agreed-upon time, precisely at noon and no later. He had moved from their apartment temporarily and had been staying with me for about a week. He and Shanti agreed they needed some time apart, but after this concert, my brother swore to me they were done breaking up. "Just wait," he texted her. "Getting ready now, then I'll be on my way." She replied, "If you're late, then I'm leaving." "I don't mean I'm going without you," she continued. "I'll do that, of course, but you'll be fucking dead to me. You're meeting me at noon, you hear?" Shanti was such a spitfire. I loved her for him. She'd never leave him. I always imagined her whipping my brother into shape one day. He was getting there. She loved him like I did, always clung to him whenever they were together, arm around his neck, his waist. She and I rarely talk anymore, our mutual love for my brother too much to bear in his absence. God bless Shanti with a sharp and inappropriate sense of humor. As noon neared, she texted, "I will not be stuck in the back. I'm trying to be as close to the stage. I'll be splashed with the sweat from Cammy C's nuts." Shanti, that's really fucking disgusting. I hope you know that. When you imagined being in a relationship, did you think any part of it would be texting your boyfriend about another man's testicles? 'Cause I gotta be honest, it sure ain't something I anticipated, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Despite Shanti's warnings, Jamal still moved slowly, going through the motions of his daily routine. When he left the shower, it was afternoon, and his phone greeted him with another string of text messages. "You worthless piece of shit," with a shit emoji. One read. "I know you'd make us late," read another. "You are not worth a sweat off Cammy C's sweaty." Then it shows 2 peanut emojis. "I'm going by myself." Middle finger emoji. "We're done." "See you at River and Beat," he responded. "You're dead to me. Dead, dead, dead." And after a minute, Shanti followed with, "Not kidding. Dead." Next text will be a picture of me with Cammy C's nuts in my mouth. "Love you too," he started typing, but thought better of replying and instead dashed to the door. His presence, he figured, was a better apology than anything he could manage to text. Had I waited, a sobbing Shanti told me, as we held each other after the funeral, we could have died together. Had my brother defeated the time demon, I thought they could have both survived. There were large gaps in my brother's memory, of course. He didn't remember the bullets entering him, or his body dropping, or the stampede that left his corpse bruised. He had no idea how long he lay there, whether his soul descended to hell or rose to the right hand of Jesus, only that at some point he became aware of the cold ground, of the blazing headache and the pain in his chest. He touched his wound and felt a cascading blood waterfall. He received it all calmly, and the regenerated life, the cavity in his chest, the dent in his head. Something told him to rise and to shamble to the wildlands, so that's what he did. He walked the streets and heard voices calling after him. "What the heck happened to you, Jack?" "Demon! Lazarus! He got a hole in him! Call the police! Call an ambulance!" My brother didn't know words yet, though he knew his name wasn't Jack or Lazarus. How he knew this, or even how he knew these sounds were names, he wasn't sure, but he did, and he walked. My brother grabbed his head now and placed it between his knees as he moaned. Buzzing returned, he said. "Sun rising now. More to say. Not safe." He rose and walked to the door. I attempted to place myself behind him at the entrance, but he hissed and bared his teeth as if preparing to bite. "Return. Return," he whispered as he walked out the door. I had no time to think about my brother's visit, his words, his life, to wonder who, if anyone, was in the casket my sister and I buried. No time for any of that. I soon had an appointment with death, for which I felt nothing but shame. I tried to send Garcon a message asking him to keep the money and call the whole thing off, but the chat box read, "Error, chat not active." I thought about running, leaving Cross River behind, and beginning a new life, but that was just a fantasy. Garcon and the Washingtons and the Aryans, even the crisis actors, would find me. I arrived at River Promenade Park at about 11, hoping to see the navy blue hat and gray sweats, to beg, to plead, but no such person crossed my vision. The river looked beautiful in the distance, gray, rippling, barges passing one another, seagulls gliding. I looked for a white person who might be the patsy, but I saw no white people today at the park. Anyone could be an additional shooter or crisis actor, the laughing fathers, even the children. I walked circles in the park, watching all around for suspicious people. How must I have looked? Frenzied and sweating. It was me. I was the suspicious person. A bell chimed in the distance, telling the world it was noon. I jumped and gasped. The end of the world was upon us. I crouched into a ball. I screamed. "No!" A man hovered over me. "You okay, Mac?" "Get away from me!" I bawled. My rudeness was saving his life, I thought, but it would be no use. Someone would die, me first. The man backed away. The people of the park watched me with horror. Their horror would soon increase, I thought, and there was little I could do. But the time ticked and nothing. No thunder from an assault weapon, no cries of agony. The minutes and hours passed, and the people who had seen me disassemble left the park, and were replaced by new people who ignored me. I walked the promenade, and nothing made sense. I didn't even see a glimpse of someone in the attire Garcon described. I stayed at the promenade until I hungered, and then I left to visit a diner for lunch. It became clear to me now, all too clear, Garcon had stolen my money. 8. I should have run. That would have made the most sense, of course. My business partners wondered about the whereabouts of their money, and my employees wondered after their salaries. I would be arrested soon, I knew, put on trial. What argument did I have to save my soul? What jury would buy my living dead defense? What court-appointed lawyer could I con into delivering such an argument? How could I run when my brother still rambled, still hungered? I spent long nights with a flashlight wandering the woods near my house, trying to catch any glimpse of him. I'd never again look like him. I accepted now that we'd always and forever be reduced to fraternal twins, but I still hungered for his presence. I lacked the courage to take my own life, so I understood about myself now. Garcon took advantage of this cowardly impulse in me, but I told myself if we found each other again, I'd allow Jamal to bite me, and we could ramble together, both alive and dead, until the earth ended. Only this could save me from the hell of prison, but it seemed so unlikely now. Each night I entered my house near 5, sandy-eyed with leaden limbs, so hungry it felt like there was a hole in my stomach. I'd melt mozzarella string cheese in a mug and devour it while drinking cups of sugary Kool-Aid before falling asleep. I remembered recently this was the routine my brother and I had as kids, one we kept as a secret between us, washing each other's dishes by turns in the early morning while fighting fits of exhaustion. Neither Sarai nor my parents ever knew. I'd missed this when I entered prison, I thought. One night, after the microwave beeped and I had poured the red liquid, I heard a bellowing outside, then a low screeching, insistent, but not deafening like the birds. This one sounded low to the earth, sad like some wounded canine, but human. It took me a moment, but I heard notes of me in there. But then not me. My eyes brightened. Jamal! I poured another glass of Kool-Aid for my brother, though I knew he was no longer able to drink. He was past that. When I went outside, I saw Jamal limping toward me, chattering his teeth as if he were snapping at food between his jaws. Blackish-red bile hung from his mouth in slimy strings. He groaned and muttered animal sounds, words entirely foreign to him now. He had lost his battle for his mind, his soul consumed in his raging hunger. I downed my cup of Kool-Aid, took a deep breath and a long blink, preparing myself for the bite that would unite my brother and me, when a high guttural shriek caused a shudder to pass over my skin. The sound was not unlike my brother's cries, but I could tell it didn't come from him. I looked around expecting to see more of the resurrected, more of the 30 coming to feast, but it was just a baby screecher swirling around my brother's head. What an ugly clattering of wings. Jamal waved his arms, trying to bat it away. The bird squawked in my brother's face. My brother bellowed in irritation. The sound betrayed a kind of intelligence, and I wondered if even a sliver of life was still left in him. The screecher fluttered about my brother's head like a moth, the arc of his flight itself a kind of confusion. It smelled death, but saw and heard life in my brother's shambling feet and waving arms. It had a job to do, to take my brother to some out-of-the-way cave, if the papers my sister gave me were to be believed. This cry didn't seem up to it, though. Too small, perhaps, to get a real grip on my brother. Eventually, the screecher gave up and flew into the sky, and Jamal turned his attention back to me, his prey, his brother. I placed my empty cup at my feet and held out the full glass toward my brother, hoping to see some recognition in his decaying face. The disk of the full moon beamed, a wide circle of light over us. I imagined it, a round piece of coal burning in a blue flame. My brother's pace quickened. He chattered his teeth more frantically. His groan loudened. A beam of light from the moon cast itself through Jamal, and I became mesmerized by the way my brother's portal glowed. I became rooted there, any trepidation, even any emotion gone from me. I no longer wanted to die. I felt the death impulse, including the impulse to join my brother in dead life, pass like a shadow, as if it had all been an eclipse of the brain. Even to be alive in prison was to live as my brother never could, and I wanted now to live for him and for me. Still, I couldn't run. I simply wanted to watch how the night brightened my brother. Closer he came to me, a decaying angel in blue, and suddenly he was on me, grasping at my neck, holding it tight so I could barely breathe. I dropped his glass of Kool-Aid. I pushed at my brother, but he was surprisingly strong. Very little can stop a man or a beast with a single objective. His teeth chattered loudly now as he took bites of the air, his mouth near my face or my neck, depending on the whims of the struggle. My gasps, grunts, and groans matched his. The rankness of his decaying flesh dizzied me. I fell to my knees, hoping to put some distance between myself and my brother's teeth. The grip of Jamal's hands around my neck wouldn't relent, and I felt my consciousness fading. I looked up, hoping to see in my brother's eyes any life, any love for me, any human compassion I could appeal to. From this angle, though, I couldn't see his face. I could see only the hole at the core of him, and before I passed out, I marveled at how a blast of light from the moon could make even a fatal wound appear beautiful. A Bird Sings by the Etching Tree. Nicole D. Sconiers. My father was a trucker for the steel mill, and he taught me the rules of the road. Stay on the streets that you know, baby girl. Don't stop for strangers. Keep a full tank of gas. I followed his rules for the most part, and even made it to 22 without an accident. Until the day I failed to yield to a guy in a white pickup truck, and he forced me off the highway. 2009. Where will you go first? Amber asked. Home if I can make it. I never got that far. We're hiding in the woods adjacent to the highway. It's after midnight, I think. The darkness so thick and merciful it masks the blood on the blonde girl's face. Tires squill around Dead Man's Curve, the snaking downhill turn in Conshohocken that dumps you onto Highway 76. Rock music blares. Amber hurries toward the sound. I'm not as fast as she is. She's already up the embankment. I linger behind a birch tree near the shoulder. The music grows louder, a Bruce Springsteen song. Something sorrowful about hometowns. I imagine the driver drumming on the steering wheel as his headlights reveal the girl by mile marker 45 with her thumb out. The car swerves onto the shoulder. It's a blue Dodge Dakota this time. The driver is wasted. All he sees are long legs and a black smock dress. He helps Amber into the car, then staggers back to his side, before the dome light blinks to blackness. Amber glances at me, sweeping hair from her face. Neon white skin hangs down in rough strips, giving her the ruptured beauty of a Géricault painting. She winks, then the door slams shut. They take off, leaving me behind a birch with lines etched into the bark. Before they reach the next mile marker, the man screams. Smoke curls from the accordion hood of the Dodge Dakota. The terrified driver crashed through the guardrail and slammed into the tree. One busted headlight illuminates Angelica and Clover. I peer through the passenger side window. The man is hunched over the steering wheel, eyes frozen in eternal fright. A web of cracks bisects his skin, like highway arteries connecting to abandoned towns. He's dead. Amber approaches, jangling a handful of coins. I know. You were checking again, Dale. She's right. It's hard to trust a woman who steals from the people she kills. Even though I can smell liquor through the glass, I still feel sorry for the man. I drift back to the birch and etch a line into the bark with my forefinger. The tree recoils. My touch is molten. The next morning, the police and coroner's van arrive to haul the dead guy away. I hear the gurney clacking from where I'm sitting on a log covered with lime green moss, staring at my reflection in the creek. Dried blood dapples my white t-shirt. On the front, Malcolm X peers out a window, gripping a shotgun. The back reads, "It's a black thing. You wouldn't understand." Amber's face appears next to mine in the water. They're going to close the road, I say. People drink, people speed, people die, she shrugs. Scared you can't keep up? You had a head start. Amber grins. Several teeth are missing on the top row. Sounds like some hateration in this dancery. She always making obscure references. I don't understand. Feels like bragging that she's lived more than I have. I stroke the dime-sized hole above my eyebrow. The wound fades oval, restored to its normal leaf brown color. Ever so often the jagged oval appears and I have to cauterize it. We both died in car accidents, but my injury is nothing like the battlefield of bone fragments that is Amber's face. When I'm done tending to my wound, she leans toward me, expectant. I place my fingertips on her throat, patching the gash there. Then I rub my way upward, sealing torn skin with each stroke. Anyone who happened upon us in the woods would think they were witnessing a bizarre beauty ritual. The police finally depart. By mid-afternoon, Amber has disappeared. I sit by the roadside watching traffic. There's one car I look forward to, a dark blue Chrysler Imperial. It travels westbound every few weeks. The black man who drives it looks like a grandfather. I know his vibration. He plays Bobby Womack at the respectful level, like he's pulling into a church parking lot and he doesn't want his fellow worshippers to know he's listening to worldly music. I wish I could ride away with him, go anywhere, do something useful and good. Cars swish past, squishing my dreams into the asphalt. Stay with me, the woman's voice surges through the shattered window. It's 1993. I've just crashed the green Ford Taurus my father bought for my college graduation present. Wetness dribbles down my forehead. Glass crunches beneath my sneaker. Don't move, the paramedics are on the way. Her voice is firm. She sounds like Coach McKinley, who grimaced at my failed layups in junior high, baffled that her 5'8" center had not translated that height into any dominance on the court. I rode the bench, afraid to take a shot and miss. I exhale, a crushing rattle of defeat, then I am yanked into red blackness. I awaken, face down in clover. No ants crawl all over me, no birds sing, no lovesick cicadas split the morning air with their droning mating call. The woods are bereft of sound except for the burbling creek. I rise on limbs that feel like clay and lurch up the embankment. Someone had planted a little white cross near mile marker 45. Carnations are tied to the beam with yellow ribbon. I head west on Highway 76. I'm about 2 miles from the exit for Wing, the small mill town where I was born. There's a Wawa not far from the off-ramp with a payphone. As soon as I step past mile marker 45, a burning sensation rips through my chest. It's akin to the searing pain I felt doing sprints at basketball practice. I cough up smoke. The sky grows red and threatening. Cars disappear. The ground heaves as if the highway is about to split in two. I stagger backwards, colliding with something stiff. Mile marker 45. When I'm far back enough to read the white numbers on the green sign, the ground stops quaking. Cars reappear. The sky is blue again. 2008. It's spring. Again. Across the highway, rock outcropping is nearly hidden by a waterfall of wild indigo. The cross and carnations have long since gone. One day, when I'm sitting on the shoulder, twisting a faded yellow ribbon around my finger, the ground vibrates. I'm unsettled by the quiet thunder of the vehicle hurtling around Dead Man's Curve. Something splashes on my arm, blood droplets the color of raisins. A white pickup truck rumbles toward me. An American flag flaps from the hood. The driver's face is in shadow, but he's perched behind the wheel like a man who knows the road is his. He slows. Blonde hair juts beneath his red Phillies cap. His ice blue eyes seem to meet mine, but he can't see me. I wipe blood from my forehead. The man takes off. Through the ghost of his exhaust fumes, a blonde girl in a black smock dress appears. This is Hellaborn. I'm his Facebook. Amber sits hip to hip with me on the shoulder. She's from Roxborough, another small mill town. Sometimes she disappears for days. Can't find her in the woods or flitting along the highway. I envy her ability to travel beyond the 0.2 of a mile radius I'm confined to. Who's FB? I ask. Seriously? It's the new MySpace. What's MySpace? Amber takes in my pink striped Trenton sneakers. Jeans stiff with hand-painted faces, an asymmetrical haircut as if seeing me for the first time. How long have you been here? She asks. Since 1993. Wow. You missed out on a lot of good stuff. What year is it? 2008? I want to feel sad that I've missed 15 years of birthdays and Sunday drives with my dad in this maroon Pontiac, but I feel nothing. 2 scratch lines. I'm drifting along Highway 76. It's after midnight, I think. Fall leaves scuttle across the road. Anyone driving past would think it strange for a young woman to be out so late in the cold. A red Harley roars around Dead Man's Curve. A 50s song winds on the radio, something folksy about weeping willows and night winds. The writer cruises alongside me. "You stranded?" he asks. "Yeah, we just left a party. My friends were drinking. I told them to let me out." The lie emerges easily. I stare at my reflection in the man's visor. He doesn't notice the absence of white clouds or breath in the chilly air as I speak. The odor of malted barley leaks through his pores. "You scared of a little liquor, big girl?" "No." I rub my arms as if I'm freezing. "Can I get a ride to Wing?" He cocks his head. I climb behind him. I'm almost afraid to wrap my arms around the waist of this stranger, but I do. My hands creep beneath his leather jacket, as if I'm burrowing against the wind. We roar off. Heat radiates from my fingers, startling the rider. Right before we pass mile marker 45, I thrust my fingertips through his skin into his bulging stomachs. Innards crackle. The man shrieks. He veers into a concrete barrier. The first time is hard. Amber watches as I smooth away road rash with my fingertips. When the Harley crashed, I went skidding down the highway on my cheek. "You were amped your first time," I say. "Whatevs, he wasn't so innocent." When I'm done mending my face, Amber leans over. Since she appeared last spring, I've gotten used to her unspoken business. She closes her eyes as I patch the smashed porcelain of her skin. On her 21st birthday, her boyfriend took her down South Street to celebrate. 6 tequila shots later, he sped up Highway 76, going 100 miles per hour. Amber was on her cellular phone, sending a goodnight message to her mom, when she heard her boyfriend mutter, "Oh shit." Then he plowed into the back of a stalled semi. He survived. Amber would have been decapitated if not for their Mansfield bar. My dad told me how those red and white bars got their name in 1967. Jane Mansfield was traveling to New Orleans with her driver, attorney, and 3 of her children. The highway was foggy. Her Buick Electra slammed into the tractor trailer, shearing off the roof. The 3 adults were killed instantly. After the grisly death, the blonde actress, the government mandated that all semis be fitted with underride guards. "You're the best, Elle." Amber smiles at her reflection in the creek. "Hotness restored." A few yards away, big rigs rumble down the road. A bearded man wearing a blue vest holds half a skull in his hands. It's 1983. I'm standing a few feet away with my 7th grade class. We're on a raised platform, observing an archaeological dig in Philly, about a half hour from Wing. It's windy and I'm shivering in my pea coat. The man informs us that we're standing on a pre-Civil War cemetery that belonged to a church of free black people. When workers broke ground for the Vine Street Expressway in 1980, they discovered a wooden coffin. Some skeletons were buried with a single penny. The man says the coin represents the spirit's fee to return to its West African homeland. The city built a road on top of the gravesite. My dad and I drove over the expressway every Sunday to buy the Philadelphia Inquirer and cinnamon rolls. Over time, I forgot that beneath the playground of passing cars was the disturbed burial ground of people who thought they were free. 2010. What's a black thing? Amber plops down next to me on the roadside. I haven't seen her in a while. The right side of her face looks sunken in. I sing from college, stuff we experience. It's not 1993 anymore. Things aren't so bad now. I sift a handful of gravel. Not all experiences are negative. Totes. I tasted greens once. They were hella yum, but I puked when I found out they were cooked with ham bones. I'm vegan. Amber glances at the front of my shirt. Black Panther guy, right? I'm not sure. I skimmed Malcolm X's autobiography at Hampton because the other kids were reading it and I wanted to feel like I belonged. Deep down, I was afraid the stern, bespectacled man on the cover would awaken some anger in me I wouldn't be able to contain, or want to. I settled for tepid rebellion, like chanting, "Fight the power!" at Greek fests on Virginia Beach, when white business owners barred their doors to black students and baton-wielding cops forced us off the streets. I changed the subject. Where do you go when you leave? Amber closes her eyes. The sun is rising. An eternal caravan of semis thunders past. I pop up in a different place each time, mostly small and cold, like the crawl space under an old house in winter. Why do you come back? Amber gazes at me. Her eyes are the same waxy green color as mile marker. You are my house, Dell. I stroke the gash above my eyebrow. The edges have grown ragged again. How'd you get that? Amber asks. Glass, I guess. When I was racing that jerk on the merge, he ran me off the road and I hit a tree. Amber peers at the wound, then she shoves her finger inside. Stop! What are you doing? She digs around the cavity, excavating. Something metallic falls out. Amber scoops it up. A bullet. How come you didn't just let him pass? She asks. I take the bullet from her, too stunned to speak. The projectile is caked with blood and brain matter. I wanted to win. After I'd realized I'd been shot, something flared in me. I became hungry for my killer's blood, who told him the road was his. My father hauled steel beams for highways from Delaware and Maryland to Virginia. My grandfather worked at a segregated CCC camp, building roads. I have more right to this crummy stretch of concrete than the coward who shot me. I started looking forward to the game. These are the rules. We only kill after midnight. We only kill men who drive recklessly or while under the influence. Our victims must be alone. Whoever scores 21 points first wins. Since Amber died the year she could legally drink, she chose that number. If you win, I'll show you how to leave. Amber said the day she created the game, "Peace out, the bumfuck can't she?" And if you win, you'll show me how to heal my face. I'm not sure I could teach Amber how to mend her skin, but she doesn't need to know that. The thought of seeing my dad again fills me with such hope. I want to believe that I'm whatever sorcerer she thinks I am. 12 scratch marks. At least 2 autumns have passed since Amber proposed the murder match. She hates that my kills are more creative. Her damsel in distress routine makes men let their guard down. I have to be cunning. For one point, I hurl rocks at a Bronco, cracking the window. When the driver jumps out to investigate, he spots me by the guardrail. He curses as he ducks back into the car. Moments later, bullets whiz past my head. Bark explodes. The man charges after me. A roadside Bernard goats. "You're gonna pay for that, bitch!" The man chases me through the woods. I blend into the night. He squints in the darkness for a blood trail. I swing down from a bough, suspended by my knees. I grab his face and squeeze until his skin bubbles. For another point, I ignite a branch and lug it across the roadway like a spike strip. Curiosity gets the best of the stoned Audi driver who pulls over. Smoke draws him into the woods. Maybe as he picks his way through the brush, he believes he'll be a hero. His red eyes follow a flaming branch that seems to levitate, before confusion dissipates to fear. I raise the fiery spear and impale him to a tree. With each death, it's as if I'm paying the god of the highway in coins of blood. 2012. Why do you take their stuff? Are you a Quaker now? Why do you care? I'm coiled in the wet grass. Amber stands over me, dangling a white cord. She calls it a charger. Sometimes she steals keychains or bottle caps from her victims. Shiny, useless things. I've known small-town girls like Amber. They try out for the cheerleading squad but don't make the cut. Not because they aren't pretty, but because they lack team spirit. They boost cheap jewelry from Kmart. Not because they really want those trinkets. They're just thrilled by power, however puny. A few cars slosh by. It's rainy and dark, but way before midnight. Most folks have already eaten dinner and are watching TV or whatever they do now to pass the time before bed. A familiar vibration shakes the ground. The tortured twang of a Bobby Womack song. Amber drops the cord and takes off. 5, 10, 15, 20, 22. Amber, wait! I scramble to my feet. Even in heels, she's still faster than I am. Before I reach the shoulder, I hear tires squealing and the plaintive shattering of sturdy things coming undone. The blonde girl stands in the middle of the rain-slicked highway, arms outstretched like she's filming a music video. I slide down the embankment toward the wreckage of the Chrysler Imperial, hoping the driver's still alive. My hopes fade when I reach the car. A branch is slammed through the windshield, lodging in the old man's chest. Blood leaks from his mouth. Amber peeks through the opposite window. The dying man's eyes dart from my face to hers. His fear reeks of rotten eggs like black magic shaving cream. Then he stares straight ahead, still. I turn away. Amber follows me to the etching tree. You cheated. He wasn't dangerous. We don't know that, she says. My finger shakes as I burn a line into the bark. The Chrysler's radiator hisses in the darkness. The years peck at my body like vultures, devouring hope. Amber doesn't play fair, but I have to win the game. I need to go home. Amber's forced to get creative about masking her injuries since I stopped repairing her skin. Some days, she braids a vine into the tiara and fastens it on her head. Leaves frame her mangled face. She looks like a flower power girl returning from war. She glides over to the log one night as I'm inspecting the bullet, and printed on the bottom is 9mm Luger. The last place I popped up was so chill I could move around. She hums a Joni Mitchell song, waiting for me to reply. When I don't, she says, "It felt like a real house." Does it have mirrors? She flashes a snaggletooth grin. You still mad about that guy? I didn't take his stuff. That was nice of you. At that moment, a branch snaps. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 33 scratch lines. Found a cold spot. 3 men and a woman trek through the woods. Light streams from their hats. A guy in a red jacket holds out a device that resembles a modern walkie-talkie. Who are you? He demands of the darkness. Show yourself. The woman laughs. Be nice. Don't piss off the Conchi crypt dude. Conshohoken means peaceful valley, named by the Lenape people who settled here. The borough is mostly white now. Townsfolk would be shocked to learn a black cryptid haunts these woods. Temp dipped again. As the foursome huddle around the device, I drift up behind them. The woman senses movement. I hear headlamp swings in my direction. She shrieks. The men turn and notice me. Empty-handed, they freeze. The woman's hand shakes as she reaches out to touch my shirt, trying to decide if I'm real. Amber lunges between us, hoisting the cryptid hunter in the air by her neck. Spidery cracks race up the woman's skin. The men scatter. 2 sprint toward the creek. I give chase stomping on a nearby branch. It springs into my hand like a boomerang, engulfed in flames. I toss the burning spear at the runners. It whooshes through the back of one man's head and out his friend's mouth. I return to Amber's side, energized. She has Red Jacket cornered against a tree. He trembles when I approach. "Don't kill me, man. I won't say anything. I'm not streaming." Amber pauses. "What's streaming?" she asks. He looks befuddled. Then his words come out in a rush. "It's when you..." Before he can explain, I drive my hand through Amber's back. It shoots out her chest and into Red Jacket's heart. He grunts. I yank my hand free. He drops to the ground. Amber looks down at the hole in his chest, then glares at me. "That was my point, Delmarva. You choked." She follows me to the etching tree. "You cheated." Sounds like some hateration in this dancery. She's still salty later when we drag the bodies to a boxy truck with huge wheels. As Amber heaves the woman into the passenger seat, her hand flops against the console. Something clinks, a class ring. Amber wriggles the ring off the woman's finger and examines the inscription. "Brooke, York College, 2016. She traces the garnet stone for a few moments, then drops the ring into the cup holder. We push the vehicle down the embankment, and I set it ablaze. "They're gonna close the road one day." Flames dance in Amber's green eyes. "Not until the right people die." "2020. I feel a grudging kinship with Amber every time we hide evidence of our crimes, protecting our peaceful, desecrated land. I ponder this brutal sisterhood as I dig for my bullet one night. It's June or July, I think. The days are bird-starved and no fireflies bless the darkness with their silent course of light. Summer was once my favorite season. Cookouts in my grandparents' backyard in Phoenixville. Driving to Germantown with my dad for blueberry water, ice, and soft pretzel. I dig faster. I buried the bullet near a cluster of wisteria, but it's not there. Irritation blooms. I rush through the woods, following the desolate music of Amber's humming. Her pale face fluoresces in the undergrowth. "Where's my bullet?" "What do you need it for?" Something metallic glints in her palm. I try to snatch it, but she closes her hand. "Klepto?" "Whatevs." Amber darts out of the bushes. I chase her up the embankment. She tries to slip past mile marker 45. I grab her arm, whirling her around. Her cheeks are mud-smeared, but I can't hide her ravaged skin. "I wouldn't steal your stuff," I say. "Because you're so good." "You should try it." "Where'd it get you, Delmarva? Trapped in this shitty highway, begging for the same piece of lead that blasted you away from Daddy?" The slap pierces the still night. Mud sizzles. Flesh flies. The bullet falls from Amber's hand as she clutches her singed cheek. Shocked, then she glowers, squeezing my bare arms. My skin cracks beneath her fingertips. We're still tussling on the shoulder when the patrol car pulls alongside us. "Break it up!" A man's voice crackles through the PA system. I freeze, although I'm no longer bound by laws. It's a reflex, an impulse left over from Greek Fest riots, when mounted cops chased us down the oceanfront. Blue and red shadows thrash the tree line. The policeman strides over. He has Gary Heidnick eyes, mournful but piercing. "What are yous doing out here?" "Lover spat," Amber says. Ooh. The cop frowns, then he notices the bullet at our feet. His hand drops to his holster. "Sit right there," he barks at us. Amber winks at me, amused by his command. She charges. Get on the ground or I'll tase you. I restrain Amber. Something buzzes. If I were alive, the current ripping through my body would have brought me to my knees, but I don't fall. Steel rings are slapped around my wrists. The policeman grabs my elbow and marches me to the squad car. In my 22 years of life, I had never even been pulled over. Amber is right. Where'd it get me? Being good. Thick droplets hiss on the asphalt. I glance down. Melting handcuffs. The cop releases my arm as if burned. Amber hovers behind us, reflected in the car window. She grips the man's neck. Lines traverse his skin. The melted cuffs clink to the ground. I push Amber away from the policeman and he falls to his knees. Dazed, he unholsters his pistol, hand shaking. The first shot goes wild, ricocheting in the woods. Before he can fire again, I sear his eyes shut. Yellow tape encircles birch trees like ribbon around a rotten bouquet. Men trudge through our woods, dropping numbered placards on the ground. Amber and I observe them from the creek's edge. Time to blow this water, I stand. I wish. We could travel together. Amber touches her blistered cheek. Be a team. I want to go home alone. I don't want to get stuck in Amber's crawl space of empty promises, repairing her skin for all time. We have to finish the game, I say. It's going to be a lot harder now. For weeks, the woods are cluttered with cops. They bag Amber's trophies, my bullet too. The police presence blankets our woods until fall. Amber grows bored with hiding. I don't even know if I want to keep playing the game. My chest is no longer a furnace smelting hate. I find the yellow ribbon floating downstream the day the cops leave. Some mornings I hide in the undergrowth, playing with tattered fabric, listening to music from passing cars. The stitched together snippets are a soundtrack to my fantasies. I'm coiled in evergreen shrubs one night, singing a catchy tune. Something about the 405, road trip music. I wish I could meet up with a boy at a secret place, speeding down the open road in a convertible with the wind on my face. For one moment, I no longer feel yoked to this highway. The ground thrums, as if severing an invisible cord. A truck barrels around Dead Man's Curve. Hip-hop blares within. Some honky-tonk rapper. I dash out of the bushes and onto the shoulder, sticking out my thumb. The white Ford pulls over. 3 blondes sit in the cab. They appear to be in their late 20s. Misery collects in the premature grooves around their mouths. The driver wears a red hat. The woman closest to me stares at my Malcolm X shirt. Her hazel eyes narrow. The driver lowers the music. She smiles, but her eyes are as flinty as her friends. How far are you going, hon? She asks. Wing. We're heading that way, hopping back. I hoist myself onto the cargo bed, pushing aside blue tarp, packing tape, and rope. The driver cranks the volume on the soulless rap song. We pull off. I wrap the tarp around my shoulders like a shawl. Amber watches from the etching tree, perhaps wondering if I can actually leave without her. We zip past mile marker 45. As soon as we cross milepost 45.2, the truck heaves violently. I bounce against the sidewalls, waiting for the burning sensation to flood my chest, but it never comes. The ground isn't quaking. The driver is steering wildly, trying to eject me. Laughter mixes with the booming bass. I cover myself with a tarp and leap out of the cargo bed. My body bounces along the road like tumbleweed. Finally, I sit up and yank off the blue covering. The sky is pulverized coal in which no iron or twinkles. Apparitions line the shoulder. Harley rider, churchy grandfather, cryptid hunters, as if the dead are awaiting their passage to the next realm, and I'm the fairy woman. The truck brakes hard. White lights wink on as the driver throws the Ford into reverse, hurtling toward me. 8 to 9. I rise like I'm on the court, but I'm a starter this time. I raise my arms gracefully and shoot. An orange bolt arcs from my fingertips, blazing across the whole hostile darkness. Glass explodes. Women howl. The driver leaps from the truck and flops onto the shoulder. Her red hat is on fire. She flings it away. The truck bears down on me. An arm grabs mine. Amber. She yanks me aside, just as the vehicle whizzes past, crunching to a halt against a barricade. Flames crackle within the Ford. We drift over to it. The blonde in the middle is dead, her head obliterated. The woman who scowled at my Malcolm X shirt crawls down the road. Glass sparkles in her hair like a broken tiara. Amber pounces, squeezing the woman's waist. She whimpers. Cracks crisscross her exposed belly. Her torso explodes. The driver pants in the gravel, blue eyes glistening with hatred. I drag her across the road and shove her into the cab with the remains of her friends. Then Amber and I push the burning truck into a ditch. After the bodies of the blonde women are discovered, men in vests and hard hats arrive. Dead Man's Curve is shut down. Amber disappears during the construction. It figures she would desert me right as the game is tied. I envy her, but I'm happy that she might have made it home at last. Some days I wander along the highway trying to see how far I can go past mile marker 45. I've made it 2 miles, nearly to the exit for Wing. Then, just as I grow hopeful and head toward the off-ramp, the ground shudders a warning. The color is sucked from the sky. Before the burning sensation flares in my chest, I turn around and hurry back to my place. Winter comes, bringing construction to a halt. I no longer have noisy bulldozers and stoic men to keep me company. I drift into the deepest part of the woods and braid myself into the snow. You still here? The snow is melted. I uncoil. Amber stands over me wearing a Halloween mask. Some plastic-cheeked princess. She prods me with her shoe. I thought you peaced out for good. I can leave bumfuck Conchi, but I can't leave you, Dell. You're my house. This revelation makes me happy and sad. I nod at her mask. Where'd you get that? Some girl. Klepto. I brush away the ants crawling on my arm. Is she still alive? I'm not a monster. I borrowed it from her bedroom. I pause. You popped up in a real house? Yeah, it's so chill. Hella rooms. You gotta see it. Amber raises the mask. I hide my shock. She looks like a woman buried long ago and recently exhumed. Only her green eyes are lively. We drift toward the etching tree. A bird sings. Dead Man's Curve has reopened. Traffic signals flicker at the end of the ramp. It's totes ugly. At least some people will be protected, I say. Just sucks it wasn't us. Familiar vibration rips through the gravel. Something plops on my arm. I brush it away. Another ant, but it's not. Blood, raisin-colored. A red pickup truck careens around Dead Man's Curve, blowing through the new traffic lights. 2 American flags are mounted on the hood. The man's face is shadowy. Wispy gray hair peeks out beneath his baseball cap. The furnace in my chest blazes, hungry for ore. Amber gazes at the oozing wound above my brow, then back at the driver. She lowers her mask. 5, 10, 15, 20. 5, 10, 15, 20. We race down the middle of the highway toward the speeding truck. Amber's a few steps ahead, but I'm gaining on her. Before the startled driver can hit the brakes, we leap. An American Fable by Chesia Burke. January 27th, 1980. Well-known Negro chained a tree, burned outside of Charleston. South unable to put stop to Negro exodus. "Where you going, boy?" Private First Class Noble Washington hadn't paid attention to the man behind the glass at the bus depot as he read the headlines from the newspaper stand. Behind him, a line of black faces waited, their turn to buy train tickets, evidence of the feared Negro exodus. Noble pulled up the collar on his winter coat to protect himself from the chill. "Chicago," he said. The white man looked at him for a long time, assessing the black man before him. Finally, he looked away, which was the universal approval that every black person understood to mean nothing. Nothing at all. This was as good as Noble could expect. Nothing would happen to him because of this encounter. His shoulders released some of the tension that had been building there. "What you think you're gonna get in Chicago?" His accent leaned heavy on the pronouncing the O as ah. Noble knew better than to tell the truth. "I got people there, just visiting," he said, keeping his tone even, calm. White Southerners didn't want black folks to leave the South. They didn't want them to stay either. The white man threw his ticket under the glass and snorted. "Nice uniform." Noble caught it as it floated to the ground, not looking back at the man as he walked away. "It won't protect you, Noble." Noble, the name fit. It had a ring to it that demanded respect, which had been the entire reason his parents had chosen it. It forced white folks to say the name of honor, even if they didn't respect the black man carrying it. Noble boarded the train and found a seat just as the narrow tin tube began its long journey. As the rail car bounced along the tracks, he noticed the little black girl that sat alone in this train car staring inquisitively at him. He quickly looked in another direction, in the way that one does when two people accidentally meet eyes to avoid awkwardness. But when he looked back at the girl, her gaze had not left him. If he hadn't been left feeling uncomfortable by his interaction with the man at the counter, he damn sure was now that this child had fixed her undivided attention on him. There was something strange about the girl, her eyes, perhaps. They were blue, striking, staring, knowing. A dark-skinned black child with blue eyes is a wonder to behold. But there was something else about her. Perhaps it was the fact that it was January, and the weather hovered well below freezing. But she wore no coat, hat, or other protective clothing. Or perhaps it was her shy smile that belied things others didn't know. Noble had gotten on the train in Raleigh, North Carolina, and the girl had obviously already been on board. But he hadn't seen her until this moment. He looked away again, but she remained steadfast in her fixation of him. She was tiny, slim even for a child of about 9 or so. She had on a perfect little blue dress, almost identical to her eye color. This spread across her bony knees in a wide fan shape. Her shoes were dirty and scuffed. She had blue bows on 2 plaits, but her hair was wild and messy, as if she had been playing in a pile of leaves. She didn't talk to anyone, and no one seemed to claim her. In fact, most people did not even seem to acknowledge or notice her at all, which seemed appropriate since she didn't acknowledge any of them either, just Noble. She stared at him knowingly, like only a child could, unashamed, as if she could read his inner thoughts going into the place in Noble's head that no one else was allowed to enter. The girl made him uncomfortable, but it wasn't just the girl. He hadn't felt comfortable since coming back from the war. Being back home felt wrong, somehow. His discomfort had not only been in the way the United States had thrown black soldiers aside. Noble and thousands of other black men and women agreed to fight for their country, hoping that afterward it would see them as worthy. Perhaps even stop treating Negro people as lower-class citizens. They had proved themselves worthy and formidable soldiers, and in France, black folks had found freedoms that had never been afforded to them in the United States. But coming back home presented horrors that even war could not parallel. The man, for instance, that had broken the beer bottle over Noble's head 3 weeks before. He had been drunk, yes, but it sent Noble to the hospital with a broken tooth and for 13 stitches. All because the white men had taken umbrage to the fact that Noble had not in fact wanted to dance the jig for him and his buddies. The United States now was no better to him or his black countrymen than it had been before. In fact, in Noble's opinion, it was far worse. After a brief stop in Charleston, the colored train car was full. There were dozens of black folk crammed in, 2 family members to a seat, mothers holding children too old to be held. Still, most people acknowledged him being there, nodded their admiration to him, knowing the sacrifice he had made simply to get respect from the country that would never give it. By fighting in the Great War, Noble and the other black men and women had begged for love in a world that hated them. So, perhaps, as he thought about it, the gazes and that hatred hated them. The gazes and nods he received in this colored car were for sympathy and not respect or admiration. In fact, because of that uniform, he barely respected himself anymore, if he was to be honest about it all. The train screeched to a slow stop in Cincinnati as the group settled in. Colored folk did not get off the train in places they didn't have to, the in-between cities. If it wasn't your final destination or you didn't have people there, you stayed on the train and hoped to move on soon. There was word of mouth about the places that Negro folk should steer clear of, and Cincinnati was one of these places. Outside, a loud group of white folks were starting up, which was what black people said when white folks were ready to start trouble. Of course, in Noble's view, white folks were always ready to start trouble. Since he had been home, he had dodged several different fights and at least 2 gunshots. There was more danger here than there had been for him in that whole war. The conductor bounced onto the train car, followed by a group of whites. "You all need to exit this train," the conductor said. This is not good. Not good at all, Noble thought, feeling the tension in the air. Many of them could make a run for it if these white men were looking for trouble, but there were at least 20 white folks behind him, some standing just inside the car, others spilling into the adjacent platform. Noble looked at the little girl's short, bare legs. He'd have to keep an eye on her. "Let's go," the conductor repeated. No one moved. Didn't make sense that they would have to leave. There was a reason they didn't want to get off in Cincinnati, and they all knew it. "Now!" the conductor screamed. Noble took another look at the little girl and found her glancing back at him, as if waiting to see what he would do, knowing, in fact, that he would speak up. Noble stood, fixed his coat, and cleared his throat. "Is there something wrong?" He paused for a moment, then added, "Sir?" Every black person on the train held their breath. Noble could feel them. The collective inhaled the dread. The conductor, his back to Noble, turned to look at him. As soon as he saw the black man in his army uniform, a grin spread across his face. He had been the wrong choice to wear it. So very, very wrong. Like the man at the ticket counter, and very aggressive action he had on a daily basis since coming back to this country, they would not respect his uniform on him any more than they respected his black skin. Some of the whites behind the conductor snickered. Others laughed openly. "Are you questioning me, boy? You think you're somebody because you wear the uniform?" "Yeah," one of the men taunted. "You all swing the same, uniform or not." The white men, despite being vastly outnumbered, held no fear. They also seemed to hold no reservations about what they came to do. The little girl stood, the conductor's back to her now. Noble opened his hand, low to his side, to stay her. He hoped she understood. He didn't want her to get in the middle of this. When white crowds got this way, they did not care who hung from the rope. Even 9-year-old black children. Noble hoped he could defuse the situation before anyone was swinging from any tree. "No, sir," Noble said, as he had been taught in the army. Every white man was sir, every black man was boy. No. The conductor glanced at the other people in the car and his face seemed to soften. Good, Noble thought. Good. White people's moods dictated black people's lives. They all understood that. Most, especially the white people. "The other cars are full. We need this one. Everyone exit." Before anyone could respond, a man with a sheriff's badge pinned to his shirt rushed forward, grabbing the collar of Noble's pristine uniform jacket, dragging him down the train car stairs, throwing him to the ground. His body skidded a few inches across the cold ground. Several men rushed in and immediately started kicking him. Forceful blows to the face sent waves of pain through his body and sent him into almost immediate unconsciousness. It did not, however, stop the men from ravaging his body with even more blows to his stomach, body, and face. As he lay on the ground, half in and half out of consciousness, an overwhelmingly bright light shone down on him. Noble figured that he was dead and that the light was the light from the gates of heaven opening up to him. He prayed only that the men would leave his body there on the ground, not bring their children to picnic under his swinging corpse, not have his bruised body posed for pictures that would be sold to white folks whose only regret was that they could not be there for the hanging themselves. But he did not die. The light, somehow, had paused the beating, stopped the white men from enacting their deadly intent. He raised his head, and the girl was there, bent down, her knees to her chin, her eyes stern and focused. "Mama de Agua, the mother of water, gives us 7 minutes to flee," a soft voice said. "You've been out for 4.5. Noble didn't understand. He looked up again, saw all of the men froze in place, unmoving, some of them mid-kick or punch. One's lips puckered, spit flying from his mouth stuck in the air just over Noble's head. "What? I don't..." Turning slowly to his back, and first thing he noticed was the snow melting under his body, soaking into his clothes. The second was a bird circling above his head. Immediately his brain realized that whatever was happening to the men was confined to them. "Run!" the voice said again. Screamed this time, and he realized it was the black girl from the train. She darted into the woods behind the train depot. Noble understood one thing that moment. He had to either pull himself off that ground and follow the girl or die there, in the dirt, like every dead soldier he left behind in France. Noble scrambled to his feet, pain suffusing every part of him. Just as he reached the side of the building, his 7 minutes must have run out because he could hear the angry confusion of the white people at his absence. "Where did he go?" There was a moment of silence, during which Noble thought he might be safe, but then his heart dropped. "There!" someone shouted as a man saw him rounding the corner. It was minus 16 degrees, but Noble didn't feel it as he ran for his life, not stopping. Behind him he heard footfalls chasing him through the leaves. Every inch of his body ached, and it took everything in his brain to force his legs to move. In the distance he saw the girl darting in and out of view, jumping over and climbing under woodland debris. She seemed to know these woods and where she was going. After a moment she stopped, looked at him, and waited. She stared into his eyes, then glanced past him, scoping out his pursuers. After a brief second, she pointed behind him. He understood. Noble stopped running, just as the footfalls behind him stopped. One man stood there, legs wide, as if anticipating a fight. Noble was lucky that the others hadn't caught up to him yet, and decided to take advantage of it. He straightened his shoulders, then turned to face his attacker. The white man looked around, realizing suddenly that he was alone. Noble rushed toward the man, who began digging into his pockets for a weapon, no doubt. Noble limped, then jogged, then ran as fast as his broken body would allow him to toward the man. Realizing that he'd run out of time, the man turned to call for help, but managed only a small whimper before Noble plowed into him and knocked him to the ground. Without even thinking about it, Noble stomped the man's head, crushing it beneath his boot heel. Then again and again, until the body stopped spasming and lay motionless. Noble never knew how many men he'd killed in the war, but from that day on, he forever remembered every blow to that white man's skull. Noble stopped, turned to look at the girl, emotionless. She nodded and took off fast, dodging in and out of trees. Noble followed. He heard someone shout out, obviously discovering the body he had left behind. He dared not look back, trusting for no reason. He understood that the girl knew where she was going. In the distance, the conductor's whistle sounded. "All aboard!" But the white mob was not on that train. He could still hear their voices in the woods, distant enough that they almost certainly could not see them. Noble hoped that meant that the other black folks had been able to reboard the train as it pulled away. That meant that perhaps only Noble and this girl were out here now, which was both a blessing and a curse. In the distance, Noble saw a clearing. They would need to avoid it, he knew, so as to not get caught out in the open with no trees to hide them. But the girl ran right for it. "Hey!" he whispered loudly so the white men couldn't hear. The girl ignored him, running right into the clearing. That's when Noble realized that it was not just a clearing, but that there was a house there high on a hill surrounded by a fence overlooking everything around it. Like an overseer, it was big, blue, and well kept. The girl jumped the small fence around the house while Noble threw himself over it, feeling every single kick he had endured, and the exhaustion of all he had delivered too. As he landed on the other side, he had no idea where the mob was now, but knew they couldn't be far. As he and the girl got closer, details of the house came into focus. That's when he saw him, the unusually tall man who stood guarding the front door. His skin was dark, his chest was bare, and a long red and black cloth draped from his waist to his bare feet. How could he stand to be in the cold? Noble thought. In his hands he held a staff with deep-set carvings of faces and forbidden things that Noble didn't understand. Staring directly at Noble as he approached, the man, who was nearly as tall as a large door frame, took on a defensive pose, his staff blocking the entrance. Noble stopped about 50 feet from the house and assessed the situation, but the girl did not seem to see the man or did not see him as a threat. Noble wasn't sure which. "Come on," she said as she heedlessly continued. Suddenly the door to the house opened. A tall, statuesque black woman stepped onto the porch. She looked at the tall figure, nodded, then called into the house. "Atnak!" Another woman, shorter but darker and thicker than the first, walked onto the porch. She took her place next to the large man, then turned to assess Noble, clearly reading the situation. In the distance, voices called out, the sounds bouncing off the trees, creating an echo in the still cold. The woman took a deep drink from the bottle of rum and blew a wide spray of liquor from the man's head down the length of his body to a small round stone statue sitting next to the door near his feet. The woman sprayed 2 more times before the first woman handed her a thick cigar from which she repeated the motion with smoke head to toe. On the 3rd blow, the man slowly shrunk down, disappearing into the statue. Noble was stunned. He could hear the white man behind him searching for him, but still, he could not bring himself to walk into that house. The 2 women stood waiting. The little girl, her eyes wider than ever, also waited. That's Esu, the door opener. He has blessed your entry, but the decision has to be yours. 3, maybe 4 seconds, that was how long it took him to get from his position in the yard onto the porch, despite slipping on ice twice. The people chasing him were more terrifying than the women or the tall men that had been on the porch that evening. If he had truly been there at all and not a delusion caused by brain damage, Noble surely had suffered during his beating. The taller woman blocked the door as she scanned the tree line, fixated on the direction he and the girl had come from. And him? Noble's heart sank. Perhaps they'd had less time than he thought. He was sure that they should have beaten the mob with more than enough time to spare. But as he turned, his eyes found the group of people standing not 50 feet away from him. He saw them all. The colored people from the train. At least 25 of them. The only person Noble didn't see was the girl. Dozens of white men gathered outside the house on the hill, and many more arrived, joining the ranks. The men held makeshift weapons, work hoes, hatchets, and hammers. Some had shotguns. They screamed, angry at Noble's audacity to protect himself. The sheriff from the train directed the other men, pointing this way and that as the men ran off to carry out whatever order had been given to them. Noble watched from a window hidden from view as 2 men directed by the sheriff climbed over the gate and marched up the hill toward the front of the door. They were cautious, but moving fast through the ice that had formed around the walkway leading to the porch. As they reached the bottom stairs, Esu appeared, now standing somehow even taller than before. Behind Noble, Ed Nike recited words, foreign words, in the rhythmic succession that sounded both beautiful and terrifying. The tall woman joined in, their words in perfect pitch with one another. As the white men kept advancing, Noble realized that they seemed unable to see the large black man heading right toward them. Once he was within range, he swiftly swung his weapon above his head and swept the white men off their feet, sending them flying backward and beyond the gate. Behind him, several of the train passengers gasped, also unable to see the man that was the protector of this place. From the window of the house on the hill, Noble had the perfect view of the white men below. They were unorganized and confused. Hell, Noble would have been too if he'd been blind to what really happened. Of course, he was currently operating under the assumption that it all was simply a figment of his imagination. Yet how could imagination do that? In that moment, though, Noble didn't care what had saved them. The woman from the house put her hand on his shoulder and motioned for him to follow her. She led him to her study, where she sat on a large leather chair behind a large oak desk. The other woman, Adnite, guided him to a sofa in the corner where she took out bandages and began dressing his wounds. As she worked, he peered around at the thousands of books on the shelves behind her. To his left, the wall was painted black, with white chalk symbols inscribed upon it. His body was in bad shape, and by the time Adnite finished her ministrations, blood-soaked bandages covered his body. "Thank you," Noble said. She nodded him and handed him a fresh shirt and trousers. Adnite walked over to the other woman and whispered something to her before leaving the room. As she left, the seated woman spoke. "You have questions, Noble Washington." "How do you know my—" He realized that Adnite must have gone through his things without him noticing. He felt for his wallet. "I see. We didn't go through your things." "Sure." She smirked as if reading his thoughts. "Do you know me?" Noble didn't know why he asked this question, but he needed to understand what was happening. "No, but she brought you here. I don't know why." "She? The girl?" "Is that how she appeared to you?" "What do you mean? What does she look like to you?" He glanced at the door. "Where is she?" "You didn't see her come into the house, did you?" "Well, I've seen a lot of things that I don't understand today, so maybe I missed something." His voice was defiant. "She brought you here through the light, but I don't know her purpose for you. Our job is to serve when we are needed. Through the light, Noble's head was pounding. He didn't understand. Everything was confusing and strange to him. Nothing made sense. What I know is that the girl you saw is your daughter. I don't have a daughter. But you will, and that's how she chose to show herself to you. The woman sounded insane to Noble, or perhaps his head injury was worse than he thought. Once in a generation, she chooses a bloodline to be born into, and she's chosen yours. He'd had enough of this nonsense. They were in danger, and this woman was reciting fables. Listen, no disrespect, but no, Noble Washington, born in Macon, Georgia, to parents who died in 1913, it is you who must listen. There is little time. She's chosen you to be born into your lineage and to save your life. So will you answer the call and, in doing so, save everyone here? A stranger would have no way of knowing all about that, or about him. Even if they had gone through his wallet, none of that information was in there. He stared at the woman, her eyes never leaving his. She paused for a moment, letting him think about everything she had told him. Then, "They call me Aya. It means mother. I am mother to the women here, and they are my daughters. I protect them like I have done for you. Will you return the gift we've given you?" Noble wasn't a particularly religious man. As an adult, he never went to church and believed only in what was right in front of him. Up to this point, that was what kept him safe. But now this woman he didn't know was expecting him to believe some otherworldly force was protecting him, who was also a child he had yet not conceived. The woman answered the question that he had not asked aloud. "Yes," she said. She looked away from him, then out the window, then back to him. "There is purpose for her in your lineage. I don't yet know what it is, but she is here to protect you. If you accept, you will owe her a debt." Noble didn't know what to say. He couldn't think. But Aya didn't give him time to respond anyway. "You killed a white man, Noble. Eventually those men will get in this house. The spirit at the door will protect us from those men, but more will come. And more after that." She sighed. "I don't know her plans for you, but you have to work. And you have work to do. You ran off to protect a country that cares nothing for you. You can do it for your people now." He knew she was right. Everything in him told him so. Without waiting for a response, the woman stood and walked to the door. When she exited, she turned to look at Noble. "Well, come on then." She led him down the hall and then into the basement. The room was filled with ornamental ceramic pots, plates of food, various statues of different sizes, some of them standing 5 feet tall, offerings to gods. Noble somehow knew. He wanted to ask questions. He had so many questions, but knew that these things were private, none of his business. His business sat in a chair up against the far wall, a large doll, its painted blue eyes staring knowingly at him. He knew the doll's likeness instantly. It was that of the little girl that had been on the train. "Sit," the woman said. As he positioned himself on the floor, facing the doll, the woman went to gather several things from the other side of the room. She set a glass of water, a tall black candle, and 7 large seashells in front of him on the floor. Then she drew a symbol with over a dozen large round circles, arrows, and more crosses than he could count on the floor between them. It was practically identical to the one Noble had seen on the wall of her study. Although he had seen her draw it this time, he could not have repeated it himself, even if promised a way out of this mess. It was intricate in a way that almost defied logic. Aya sat down beside him. "The black candle is for protection now. Look into the fire, clear your head, follow the flame." Noble focused on the light as if it flickered and bounced on its wick. It swelled for a moment, then died down again. "There is nothing else in this moment," the woman said. "Nothing except for you and her. She is your mother, your daughter, your spirit. She knows you." She paused, then after a moment of silence said, "Close your eyes." Following her direction, Noble felt his shoulders relax, seeming to expel all the apprehension from his body. He let her go in a way that he rarely allowed himself. Around him, the air suddenly shifted, turning extremely cold, and he began shivering uncontrollably. Noble dared opening his eyes to look again at the doll, but it wasn't there. Neither was the room. Now Noble sat alone, nothing but ice and snow and wind whipping around his head. He scanned the frigid landscape before him, seeing nothing, but witnessing all around. This wasn't just outside, but elsewhere. The initial shivering he'd felt passed, and inexplicably he wasn't the cold, despite where he found himself. Somehow he was being protected from the weather. After a moment, a woman he'd never seen before appeared in the distance. The Mother of the Water, Mama de Agua. He knew her immediately. She walked gracefully toward him over the ice. The woman, adorned in blue, her feet bare, stopped a short distance in front of him. Neither of them spoke. Her eyes were bright blue, much like the little girl's had been. She pointed to the ice under him just as he heard something breaking. Looking down, he saw a tiny crack stretch across the ice. The surface was still solid. However, the break appeared superficial. Without uttering a word, the woman reached into a hidden pocket in her dress, then tossed him a shiny object. It skidded across the ice, landing at his feet. He recognized it immediately. A broad hatchet, like one found in a Montgomery Ward catalog for $1.25. She wanted him to break the ice. Noble couldn't swing. He couldn't swim. He took a deep breath, stood, grabbed the hatchet, and forcefully began chopping the solid mass. The sound of ice breaking filled the air. As he swung, the ice fractured until he was stranded on a small floating block. Then it too broke apart, dumping him into the icy waters below, which he now recognized as the Ohio River, a few miles away from where he should be in that moment. He scrambled, kicking his feet and flailing his arms. Like untold numbers of other black folks in the United States, pools and waterways had been mostly forbidden to him, so being unable to swim, he sank deeper and deeper into the Ohio River, holding his breath, desperate to keep himself alive. Until he just accepted his fate and breathed. He breathed, and then took another breath. Small bubbles formed around his mouth and nose. The water around him was dark and hazy. A tiny fish swam in front of his eyes, close enough for him to see it at the edge of his visibility. Then, as Noble's eyes became accustomed to the darkness, he saw her. Her eyes as vivid blue as they had been on the train, although her body was twice the size, and she no longer wore the flesh of a child. The Lady of the Water extended her hands, as a bright hot light expelled from them, instantly warming up the current around him. Above Noble's head, thick sheets of ice broke away, cracking into dozens of smaller pieces. Suddenly, the water swelled as the ice heated up with the power from the woman's hands. It was as if a giant underwater wave rushed through the river. Noble moved and swayed with the flow until it swept them away, throwing them back and forth within the current. He lost track of the woman in the blue as he was pounded back and forth against the large blocks of ice and rapidly moving water. "Protect her always," Mama de Agua, the mother of water, demanded as payment. The words were loud and unmistakable in his ears, even as he was ravaged by the sounds of angry water and his body crashed into a block of ice, knocking him unconscious. He woke up on the floor in the basement, wet. January 30th, 1918. Extra. Pound, pound, pound. 105 dead. 550. 500 feared homeless after Ohio River flood. Pound, pound, pound. Extra. It could be beep, beep, beep. I don't know. Ohio River quick thaw ravaged Cincinnati. Search for Negro man postponed after mob caught in flash ice flood. Oh, karma. The mob of white men outside the house on the hill did not stand a chance. As the waters washed away everything that was not held down, the house itself was untouched. Noble spent the entire time in and out of consciousness as the floodwaters ravaged the lands, sweeping through Cincinnati and the surrounding areas. He awoke, his battered body lying on a soft bed, his head pounding. As he opened his eyes, Aya stared down at him, the other woman, Ednike, behind her. He rushed to sit up as if waking from a bad dream, but the woman held him in place. "It's over." There was a flood, Noble knew without asking. "Yes, you did well. You were even willing to kill to protect her. I see why she chose you." She paused and smiled for the first time since he'd arrived. "It'll take weeks for the water to recede and months for things to get back to normal. They will forget this all happened soon enough. We'll all be safe again when things are better. I'll make arrangements with a friendly steamboat captain. He will get you safely upriver." "Thank you." "Thank her, not me. Just fulfill your part of the arrangement." "I promise." He paused for a moment thinking. "Who are you, Aya?" "Beyond that title." She seemed hesitant. "A Yoruba priestess, the keeper of the souls both living and dead." She clearly didn't like talking about herself. "That's all that matters. Just bring her to me when she's old enough to comprehend." He agreed, as she left him with one more piece of advice. "Now burn that uniform. They mean nothing to us." Noble nodded, understanding completely. Your Happy Place by Terence Taylor. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States, or any place subject to their jurisdiction. 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which, pause, story, our Constitution has been, is, and remains to be threatened every day. They're picking away at it. Pretty soon we won't have any rights. We gotta stand up against the shenanigans wherever we are in the world. Martin woke up from the smell of blood and pus. The click and whir of precision machinery still buzzed like flies in his ears. He felt part of something big, monstrous, and inescapable that somehow reminded him of his job. He shook it off. Just a nightmare he could barely recall now that he was awake. Sunlight filled the room and his eyes opened to a new morning that pushed grim memories out of his mind. His wife was asleep next to him. He pulled her closer. She moaned softly and pushed back into him. This was his life, not the bad dream, whatever it was. He grinned, anything else forgotten. He was in his happy place. "Mommy, Papa!" Her girls ran in, bounced onto the bed, chanted, "Pancakes, pancakes!" You know the rule, girls, no sugar in the morning. Vanessa herded them out of the bedroom door, turned back to Martin before he went to the shower. "Eat before you go." She gave him a quick peck on the cheek. Martin pulled her in for a longer kiss to assure her that they'd pick this up when he got home. As she left, her eyes agreed. It would brighten the end of another lousy day at work. By the time Martin got to the kitchen, the girls were almost done eating eggs. He dropped into his seat and pulled a full plate close. "Any plans?" he asked as he dug in. "The usual," Vanessa shrugged. "What about you?" "You still going to—" she trailed off. They'd fallen asleep arguing about his decision, and he wasn't eager to start again. "I just have to know what's really going on." "Why risk everything by sticking your nose where you shouldn't? Maybe there's a good reason they don't want you to know." Never good reasons for secrets. She was against anything that rocked the boat. They had a good thing here, and he got that, but how could he protect his family, keep them safe without knowing what the prison really was? They'd said the facility was built to test a new reform project. He understood they had to keep everything confidential until they got results, filed their patents. But they hid more than their methods. Everything in him said he should keep his mouth shut, keep his head low, collect his paycheck. Everything but his conscience. His daily duties were simple. Shuttle prisoners back and forth from their cells to rooms downstairs where they were connected to machines that fed new memories into their brains. The process gave them work skills for life after they served their time. He didn't know how it worked and wouldn't have understood it even if anyone had bothered to explain it to him. All he knew was that this was the last test of a radical experiment in prison reform. All the prisoners here had volunteered for the process to reduce their time, like him. Martin was serving 10 years for dealing pot, a non-violent felony that had qualified him for work release instead of the treatment. Faced with 8 more inside, he applied. They sold it well. If the process worked, prisoners got skills it would otherwise take years to master, from laying carpet to legal aid, all learned while they slept. Society got back more productive members. Even prisoners who didn't take to the classes left with benefits of long-term study. Martin got a steady job and a home for his family. It seemed like a dream come true, except that after a few months, Martin noticed that not all of the prisoners he took down made it back to their cells. Some he saw the next day, some never again. Once he noticed he couldn't stop seeing more and more about the prison that seemed wrong. He'd been told not to engage prisoners verbally except to direct their movement. His charges never said much after their first session anyway, just followed orders silently, eyes blank as if they suddenly had brain damage. When he asked one of the whitecoats about it, they shrugged it off as a temporary side effect. That made him wonder what really happened down there. And the more he wondered, the more he needed to know. "Time for class," Martin said, and didn't expect a response. He opened the cell and the prisoner inside stepped out. "What they teaching you down there, bro?" The man was smaller than he was older, Latino. He looked up at Martin for a moment as if unsure what was expected, then back to the floor. They shuffled down the hall. Martin sighed and followed. If Vanessa could see this, he thought she'd understand why he had to dig up the truth. The day went quickly. After Martin made his last trip of the morning, he took lunch. There was a staff cafeteria on site, industrial green, chilly with low lighting, but it saved workers the trouble of going out for food. It also kept locals from asking too many questions about what went on in here. He found an empty seat. After he sat down, a chubby, slightly grubby white guy in his 40s in a smudged lab coat stopped across the table from him. He grinned down at Martin, shyly hesitant. "Mind if I join you? Usually eat at my desk, and you're the only familiar face here." Martin squinted up, dubious. He didn't talk to his coworkers much, but if this white coat worked in the lab, he might have answers to some questions about what happened there. He nodded. The man dropped into the chair with obvious relief. "So, how do I know you?" The man looked surprised and laughed. "Sorry, I work downstairs." He laughed nervously. Sometimes I forget that people I watch on my monitors don't see me. You bring subjects in every day, so I see you all the time, but just not realizing that you've never seen me. Sorry, name's Wexler Howell. Dr. Howell, I guess." "Sorry." You don't have to keep saying that." "Oh, of course not. Sorry." He chuckled nervously. "Not good around people. Too much time in the lab. Am I right?" "Oh, so you work downstairs? On the process?" "Well, technically he fidgeted, leaning forward and whispered, I run it." Cater. This guy seemed so desperate to be liked, he just might answer anything. All Martin had to do was string him along. He'd learned that much in prison. You know what it does, how it works." "It's my system. Took years to get this stage." He giggled. Still a few bugs, but the most important thing this study's given us is a proof of concept." "So, you train people in their sleep to do new jobs, right?" "Oversimplification, but basically, yes. I designed the hardware and software for the BCI system that connects directly to the senses, muscle, and memory. We record brain waves as someone does a task, but that recording in someone else, voila, new but experienced abilities." BCI? Brain-computer interface. It connects machines to human brains to store data and control their bodies like hardware. Control? Wexler waggled his fingers. "No point teaching the brain how to play piano if the arms and hands don't know the sensation or movement to do it right, and the process trains both mind and body." "Damn, you could put schools out of business." Wexler tittered, nervous again. No, it's not for general use. Real people still need to know how to learn. The process is a shortcut, a specific subset of the population. So I bring them downstairs and they get hooked to your machine. What then? Some guys I never see again? Martin asked, as casually as possible, kept his eyes on his plate. "Well, back to Gen Pop to see how well the train trip sticks, and most work in prisons is done by incarcerated labor, so mostly we teach base-level skills. Cleaning, food prep, light maintenance for plumbing and electrical. We just improve the quality." That left one last question. "What's at the other end of the hall?" Oh, Wexler mouthful. "Other end?" "I take subjects to a door at one end of the long hall, but there's another side where I never go." "Oh, gotcha. Well, I'm in there, so my office, operations, equipment, and service, stuff like that." "Just that I've seen some of my guys taken there by another crew. Wonder if it was other classes or whatever. Figure you'd know." "Oh, testing, most likely," Wexler blurred. "After training, we need to confirm it took." He looked as evasive as he sounded. "Most likely. He's in charge, and that's the best he can do?" So they do what you taught them to make sure they got it right. Like mopping floors and frying chicken? Something like that. Wexler stood up, plate empty. Martin's was still full, his appetite low. Anyway, back to work. No rest for no rest. For the wicked? That's how Martin remembered it. They went to drop off their trays. Whatever Martin wanted to know was on the other side of the door at the other end of the hall. His only question had been how to get inside, but now he knew. Walk you down? He asked. Wexler's eyes brightened. Sure! He chattered on about some streaming show he liked as they took the elevator down. Martin nodded, smiled at the right time as Wexler walked them through the door at the other end of the hall to another long hallway. They stopped at the door with Wexler's name on the sign outside it. This is me, he said. Guess I'll see you, tomorrow? Sure thing, said Martin, pointing behind him at the door. Sorry, guess I should have stopped back there. Wanted to hear the end of that story. Wexler nodded with a smile. No problem. See you tomorrow. Martin walked back the way he came while Wexler opened his door and went inside. As soon as he heard the door close, Martin swung around in the other direction, went deeper into his wing. None of the doors had windows. He checked the sign on each to find out what was inside. Some were for equipment, servers, and the like, as Wexler said. Others for repairs or parts. At the far end, he reached a double door, bigger than the others, labeled with what looked like a project number. He tried the handle. It was unlocked. Guess they didn't expect unauthorized personnel to make it this far. Martin slipped inside. The walls were the same dull institutional green as the rest of the facility. The room was filled with 100 sewing tables arranged in rows on a 10-by-10 grid. Seated at each was a worker wearing a wired headset like a silver spider, similar to those he'd seen on prisoners in the training rooms, but updated, more compact. They were all hard at work stitching up women's sports clothes. Martin couldn't see the brand from the doorway, but the materials looked pricey. No one reacted when he stepped inside. None looked up from their work or responded to anything he did to get their attention. They all seemed to sew the same item, did the same moves at the same time as they cut and stitched the same pattern in the same size from different colored pieces of cloth. Each time a hand moved at one table, the same one at every other table did too, in exactly the same way, like parts of a single machine. It was creepy as hell. Ignored, Martin examined them more closely. The headsets fit snugly over their heads. Metal knob sensors pressed tight to their skulls. Each had a slender green wire that ran the edge of the table, then down to the floor. They were all collected into a thicker cable that ran to a door on the other side of the room. Martin approached it cautiously, but quickly knew it was only moments before he was seen. Even if he couldn't spot surveillance, he knew cameras had to be here to monitor progress, if nothing else. The workers certainly weren't in any danger of running away. He opened the door. The next room was filled with banks of servers and processors. A screen over a control panel displayed the name of the current program, the same name on the sign outside the door. The screen showed wireframe, CAD/CAM images of two hands and a sewing machine in motion. When Martin compared what they did in the movements of the men outside, they matched exactly, as if the computer was recording them. Or was it guiding them? Martin had only seconds to try to decipher what he saw before he heard a deep voice behind him. Dr. Wexler wants to see you. Wexler's office was impressive. all that Martin would expect for the head of the process, with heavy wood paneling, period brass lights, and floor-to-ceiling bookcases. There was also a wall of high-tech screens behind him with views of the lunchroom, workrooms, hallways, and cells. The entire complex clicked by at regular intervals to give Wexler a continuous survey of his kingdom. The doctor was no longer the smudged, gullible, eccentric Martin met at lunch. He wore a sly smile as he leaned back in an antique wood desk chair. His lab coat pristine, the crumpled one from lunch dangled carelessly from a nearby coat rack. "Dr. Wexler," said Martin, "we meet again." He was still shaken by what he'd seen in the workroom, but tried to cover it up. "Oh, please, we're beyond that by now. Call me Hal." "Sure, buddy. What's going on here, Dr. Hal?" Wexler grinned like a stage magician before his big reveal. "A recruiting ploy for my inner circle. You see, now that the process doesn't just train bacteria subjects work for the private sector, usually only 1% of prison labor because too many jobs are specialized, so I fixed that." The men in the sewing room kept busy on the bright screens behind Wexler, still in sync. "With computers?" "They're controlled by the rudimentary AI that uses the human body like an organic assembly line robot. Their limbs are run with digital precision, aided by human senses, with the added advantage of instant updates to any task for any company." "Do they know what they're doing?" "A subroutine stimulates pleasure centers and sense receptors so they can create any fantasy they desire to distract them while their bodies work. Most party all the time or live out Grand Theft Auto lives of sex and crime instead of a solitary confinement. You think they'd prefer a lifetime caged?" "Why would you do this? Why would anyone?" "Human bodies under AI control are by far more efficient and cheaper to maintain and service than designed and building machines that can't do what they can do nearly as well. Nature gave us an infinitely adaptable tool, and I've learned how to use it in its greatest potential. Why would anyone not?" "Did they know you'd do this to them?" "Most wanted reduced sentences, but really, none will ever leave. They're all on death row, though, or have multiple life sentences with no parole for crimes so awful that no one visits. With over 2 million in U.S. prisons, around 50,000 are lifers, or no parole, 2,000 on death row. More coming thanks to 3 strikes laws. Not up to China numbers, but just give us some time." "But it's slavery." "No, slavery is illegal. This is perfectly legal, as per the fine print of the 13th Amendment. Involuntary servitude was abolished except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. If this works, it can be rolled out in all our facilities to provide income to lobby for more private prisons, more convictions, more labor. The process brings jobs back to America, turns on the lifelong tax drain into a valuable resource to return some of what they've taken from us." "That's crazy, man. Monstrous." Wexler glared, jumped up to pound the desk. "These men are the real monsters. If you knew why they're here, the amount of blood they've shed, the lives lost because of them, could you still say that? Or would you tell me this is better than they deserve after all the damage they've done?" Martin shook his head as he stared at the screens, confused. Watched as the men mindlessly folded each completion garment into a bin beside them, and then reached as one of the fresh cloth to begin again. Despite himself, he could almost consider that the doctor had a possible point. No one got a death sentence without a reason, and lifers without parole. Could you even call that a life? He shuddered. Ooh. That still didn't justify what he'd seen. Wexler sat back down, calmer. Now, you know the game. I always need new recruits for this sector. That's why I approached you, to see how you reacted to the truth. You can keep your current situation, stay where you are on the board, and nothing changes, or reject it all. Live on the other side of the bars for the next 8 years. Wexler swung toward the monitors, done with them. Go home. Sleep on it. When he got home, Martin asked a neighbor to watch the girls while he took his wife out to a nearby park to talk, in case the house was bugged. He'd already said enough at home to make the company suspicious. No need to risk making matters worse. Martin explained everything. She was just as horrified as he was at what he'd learned, and agreed that they now had to be whistleblowers, no matter what happened to them. The next day, Martin told Wexler he was on board. While he worked as part of Wexler's A-team, Vanessa took the girls to the children's library and anonymously searched online for reporters who'd written about prison reform. She sent them everything Martin knew and urged them to investigate. Some emailed back, asked for proof, sent hidden cameras and pins, eyeglasses for him to get evidence. Now that Martin was trusted, he had increased duties in the labor wing with freer access to get plenty. He recorded video of workers as they moved mechanically through 12-hour shifts without breaks and the screens of computers that controlled them. What they worked on changed from day to day, but Martin was sure to get pictures of any brand names that went through the system. That was what made it a bigger story. Major companies scrambled to distance themselves as soon as reporters started calling them with questions about the process. Denied knowing any details of how their products were made. As they rapidly canceled contracts and released statements condemning it to save their public images, Wexler was left to hang alone. Once the stories broke with so much chilling footage of the workroom and computer banks, his crimes were impossible to deny. After Wexler was arrested, Jon Stewart did a special about it, interviewed prisoners freed from the program. Martin and Vanessa were guests too, invited to explain why it was worth it to them to lose everything to expose the process. Once the project ended, they had to leave their apartment, but someone who saw the show offered them a new home at affordable rent. I would be leery, guys. Seriously. Others offered jobs, calling them heroes. Not long after that, a congressional hearing on the prison labor issue dismantled the system that allowed the process. Dr. Hal Wexler was sentenced to less than life for his multitude of crimes, but long enough to end his mad plans. The nightmare was finally over. Martin and his wife celebrated after the sentencing. Takeout dinner ended in cake and ice cream. Once the girls were in bed, husband and wife chilled alone on the couch in the front of the TV to watch a horror movie on Netflix, until they weren't. When the sex and film were over, Martin held tightly on to Vanessa until she finally pulled away to refresh their drinks. With regret, he watched her leave. No woman had ever made him feel the way she did, in bed or out. Her smile said she felt the same about him. What a movie, but I hate it when they keep going after the good guys. Vanessa laughed as she disappeared in the kitchen. It always means it's, not over. What? He asked. She implied softly from inside. It's how I felt since we left court, we're not done yet and the worst is yet to come. What was that? He asked too loudly. Martin winced, sat up, and waited for her to remind him that their daughters were asleep. Nothing. Baby! Vanessa didn't answer. What did you say? He walked to the kitchen, empty. He stayed calm, hurried to the room. Did she go to check on the girls without him seeing her? But the girls were gone, both beds bare, and no sign of Vanessa. Desperate now, Martin raced through the apartment to look for them, but they were nowhere to be found. He dropped down to the couch, head in his hands. When he looked up, the rest of the furniture in the room was gone. He leapt to his feet, and when he turned around, there was no more couch. Martin stared in shock as the walls around him faded away. Other rooms came into view beyond them as they too vanished. Then the floor until there was nothing. A feeling so disturbing, he wanted to replace it with bright white. Everything changed as soon as he had the idea. Possible. "What's happening?" he screamed, his voice small in the vast emptiness.
"You won. You destroyed the process."
Wexler's voice came from inside his head.
"You're done with your happy place."
"Done?"
"It only exists to keep you complacent in the system. As soon as you break free, you delete it every time."
"What do you mean every time?"
"This isn't our first dance, Martin. Once you even killed me. Stabbed me with a letter opener after I told you the truth. At least it was faster than a trial."
He chuckled as if it were a fond memory.
"You've made me into a villain, a clown, and everything is in between, but we always end up here."
"Where's that?"
"With you, free of illusion, on the brink of total recall. Me? Still asking why and how."
"This can't be real. It's crazy."
"If crazy's doing the same thing over and over expecting change, then guess we both are. Most process subjects live satisfying fantasies, but you create a perfect life and then end it. Again and again, by digging and digging until you break through to the truth."
"You can't keep me here."
"Can't I? Who will save you? Once you criminalize a population, it's marginalized. No one cares. They erase convicted criminals from society in their minds."
"Where are you? Where am I?"
"I'm at my desk as always. You hear me because I'm plugged into your senses."
No, this can't be real. I found out what you were doing and I busted you. You were arrested."
"All in your head. Like your family. Like my trial. Do you really think any company capable of doing everything you accuse me of can't secure itself? Your mind made locks you could pick, created a system you could smash. That's what we call a bug. If you can free yourself, so can others. That's why we're here."
"Here? What's really happening? Where am I?" Wexler didn't reply. "Tell me."
"You won't like it. You never do. There's a reason you're put in your happy place. Without one, most subjects usually die of shock."
Martin was almost unable to grasp what he'd already been told, but knew there was no going back, no way to forget what he'd already learned, and no escape from whatever lay ahead. "Show me the truth." He felt his heart pound. Wexler sighed.
"If you insist."
Everything around Martin went dark.
"Sadly, your version of the process was far more advanced than mine."
Martin's eyes opened to a dark room. There was a hospital smell of medicine and metal. Overhead, lights illuminated a long gray table with a conveyor belt down the middle. He was suspended over it at a horizontal tilt, strapped to a metal frame, legs numb. He raised his head as far as he could, the only control he still had over his body, and saw a man across from him being nourished by a clear feeding tube down his throat. Martin felt one in his own. Other hoses carried away waste, and lines from dangling IV bags ran to a catheter in a man's chest. Antibiotics? Martin thought. Sedatives? Both? A bundle of warm, multicolored wires ran down to the top of the man's head. Insulated socks at each end were plugged into gold posts, surgically implanted in his skull. Pus oozed from infections at their bases. Blood seeped from broken sills and dripped to the floor. It looked messy and permanent. The man's arms hung down, dry hands busy as they assembled a cell phone from parts in a basket, used a small drill and powered screwdriver faster than any human assisted by AI. The conveyor belt carried away the finished phone. He picked up parts from the basket to begin again. Martin looked down, saw that he did the same thing at the same time. He peered as far as he could to see no one, no end to the bodies on either side of him. More rows behind the men across, likely more behind him. Who knew how many, for how long? Martin screamed. No, this can't be right. I didn't do anything bad enough for this. His hands never stopped, assembled phones as he protested. Didn't you think about it? Suddenly the memories came flooding back. He'd met Vanessa in rehab, they'd fallen in love, married, and despite all odds, made a family. Years later, the pandemic cost them their jobs. After they lost their apartment and were homeless, old ways to numb pain returned all too easily. Heroin, fentanyl, crystal meth. They got less picky over time. Then came their last day together. He'd hustled change all day for enough to bring back a couple of Happy Meals for the kids and a Subway footlong for him and Vanessa. As soon as Martin slipped into the abandoned squat they shared with other junkies, he felt something wrong. There was no one on the stained mattress in their room. He raced into the ruined bathroom next door. Vanessa was inside under a pile of dirty blankets, huddled in the cracked tub, still high. He didn't see their daughters. Where are the girls? He asked. She sobbed. People came to take them away. I had to hide them. Her dark brown eyes, once so soft and loving, were wide with terror. The voice that used to cry out his name in passion was now shrill, on the edge of hysteria. Where are they, baby? She mumbled as if she hadn't heard. They were asleep, but kept making noise, sniffles, moans. I was so afraid of losing them. I had to keep them quiet. What else could I do? She screamed. I had to keep them quiet. That's when Martin saw that she wasn't alone in the blankets. He stepped closer, reached out as she clawed him, afraid of what he'd find, but pushed that fear away with all his heart. Vanessa pulled the ragged bundles closer as she kneed like a banshee. Tried to fight him off. A tiny hand flopped out from hiding, pale and finally silent forever. Pulled the covers away to see blank eyes, two empty heads on the pillows she'd used to quiet them. Martin was on her before he knew what he was doing. His hands gripped her throat. He forgot she was as much a victim as their children, choked off her air along with any cry for help. By the time he realized what he'd done, it was too late to take it back. Martin's grief led him to OD with the last of their stash. A fate he thought fitting. Drugs had taken his family away from him and now would reunite them. But someone found them too soon and called 911. Martin survived, confessed to killing them all, and was eventually sentenced to life without parole. No one would ever know what Vanessa did. He'd kept her secret all this time and would keep it to the grave if he ever got one. It was all he could still do to protect his family. Martin wailed, lost.
Whatever you remember, you know the dream is better, said Wexler in his head. I offer you the taste of heaven in this hell. You throw it away every time. You're the only subject who created a fantasy. The process designed for you to escape it. I need to know why.
Martin was silent, numb. Even if Wexler's wonderland erased the pain, it couldn't purge his guilt. He didn't deserve to forget that he didn't save his family from the life that killed them. Not even the real truth was penalty enough. His punishment was reliving his loss over and over, no matter how many times it was suppressed. If Wexler, not knowing that, fucked up the data he needed to approve the process, it was the side benefit. Martin would stay quiet forever, his only way to punish Wexler. He would never know why and never succeed.
Nothing? Well then, all I can do is reset the system. You get your life back, fight your way out again, and I'll do my best to find and fix the bug.
Martin wept. Just let me join my family.
Sorry, but we're too heavily invested. You repeat this until it works so the process can go national, then global. If I succeed, you'll keep your personal paradise. If not, we repeat this until you do.
Wexler's voice brightened.
Either way, eventually, it's a win-win for both of us, right?
Martin wakes up from the smell of blood and pus. He shakes off a nightmare he can barely recall now that he's awake. His wife's asleep next to him. This is his life, not the bad dream, whatever it was. He grins. Anything else forgotten? He's in his happy place. Hide and Seek by P. Jelly Clark. Mama shakes in spasms, her willowy limbs twisting and jerking in a strange dance as her eyes flutter like butterfly wings. Ringlets of dark hair lay slick with sweat across her cheeks so it looks like she's wearing a black veil, and the veins on her neck are swelled up like worms trying to burrow out her skin. I could see her chest moving up and down fast as jackrabbits, her lips long and done gone blue, and she lies sucking in air like a panting dog. I stand there watching, the rifle on my shoulder growing heavier with each passing moment. Jamie sits cross-legged on the floorboard, staring his green eyes round his dinner plates. Neither of us says a word, instead following the lines of scarlet creeping across Mama's pale skin. They remind me of the vines that grow up around our house, but thin as threads in the burning so bright you could see them beneath her pretty saffron dress. Somewhere near, maybe another room, we could hear Daddy's whimpering. It'll just get louder, we know, until it's a wail that makes your belly knot up and want to turn inside out. I lose my eyes, fearing I might drown under it all. God, I think for maybe the 100th time, I fucking hate magic. But let me start at the beginning. 1, 2, 3, yells Mama. You better be hiding. We run through the house, stopping at the brown chifforobe in the kitchen. I know a chifforobe don't belong in a kitchen, but that's kind of the point. I glance at the blue mark painted on the door before pulling it open. Get in. Jamie hesitates. It's kind of small. 4, 5, 6. Mama again. You're kind of small. I shoot back. Now get in. Jamie looks up at me, those big eyes filled with worry. He doesn't like tight spaces, but we ain't got much choice. You want this one to yourself? I ask. I can find enough. No! Jamie squeaks before hopping up into the chifforobe. Being alone during these drills terrifies him enough to break through any other fence. 7, 8, 9. I jump in after him, taking care to hold on to the rifle strapped at my back inside. I pull the door shut, closing us in stifling darkness. 10, Mom yells. Ready or not, here I come. I will myself to breathe easy and settle back. The chifforobe is old, maybe as old as this house. The wood has a musty smell to it that comes only with age. You can get a splinter if you ain't careful. And there's dust enough to make you choke. Jamie's pressed up against me. I could just make out his eyes intent on the bit of daylight peeking from beneath the chifforobe door. Outside I hear footsteps making their way through the house. Something heavy is being dragged across the floor downstairs. Something else lands with a thud. Our hunter is searching. Now the footsteps head upstairs, then silence. I release a relieved breath. She stopped. We're doing good. I glance over to give Jamie a reassuring smile, but it fades when I see his face twitching, like he has an itch. He has to sneeze. Damn it. Outside, the footsteps return slower, thoughtful. Jamie inhales and cups a hand to his mouth. I cover it with my own, silently pleading with him to keep quiet. He looks up like he wants to say he's sorry before sneezing. His eyes shut. The sneeze is muffled beneath our hands. Still, it seems to echo in the small space. And that's enough. Shit, shit, shit. Footsteps move closer directly for us. They hesitate for a moment, then there's a sound of something tracing along the door before finding the lock. Jamie's little fingers dig into my arm, and I hold them back. We both hate this part. Mama flings the chiffon door open, her dark eyes glaring at us and screaming, "Boo!" Her face is contorted into a frightening mask, and I rear back, flinching. Jamie squeals, his little body trembling. Mom doesn't stop, though. She won't. Not until she's scared him shitless. Catching hold of myself, I stare at her squarely. "Enough, Mama. I think he gets it." She stops, eyeing Jamie as if only now noticing his fear. There's a flicker of sympathy, then it's gone. Her face hardening. She rounds on me. "What happened? How'd I find you?" "A sneeze is dusty in here." "Then clean it," she spits back. "He's your responsibility, Jacob. You're older. Keep him quiet." Her eyes shift to my rifle, and her voice drops, "Unless you're ready to use that." "Yes, ma'am," I mumble. I want to ask what she possibly fucking knows about responsibility. She exhales slow, and just like that, her whole face changes, turning calm as water. "The two of you get something to eat." "New face," Mama says softly. "After that, we start up again." She walks away, a long dress with flowery patterns swishing around her slender legs. I turn to Jamie, who still hasn't released his grip. Part of me is disgusted. Hard enough looking out for myself. How am I supposed to take care of him, too? Seeing the fear in his eyes banishes my sourness. Jumping down from the chiffon robe, I extend a hand, and he clenches it, but doesn't move. Still curled into a ball in a corner of the small space, takes me nearly half an hour to coax him out. This is hide and seek, and it's not a game. Mom's standing by the window in the old sitting room, her arms crossed and staring outside. She'll stay like that, still as a statue, waiting and watching in the winding road from our house. Jamie's pointing excitedly at a commercial with David Hasselhoff and Kit from his favorite show Knight Rider, both warning kids to say no to drugs. And I'm not sure what talking car knows about drugs, but I nod every now and then, one eye on the TV, the other on Mama. She's wearing her nice red dress today. We don't get too many visitors. And she only gets like this when she's expecting a certain one. There he is! I turn to find Mom is no longer catatonic. She's almost giddy now, focused on the approaching truck in the distance. It's an old model, more curving than newer ones. Might have been white once, but now it's covered with rust. It rolls up to the front, stopping right on top of the overgrown grass that's wilted to dull brown in the autumn cold. The door creaks open and a gray snakeskin boot steps out, followed by another. I grimace. Sugar Man. Sugar Man's real name is Wayne. Claims his last name is Redfoot. And he likes to tell people he's Choctaw, but I never seen a Choctaw with dirty blonde hair and blue eyes before. Sugar Man sways more than he walks in his faded jeans and matching jacket, complete with the straw cowboy hat and red checkered shirt. Seeing Mama at the door, he flashes a grin with too many teeth from behind a shaggy beard. Two of them embrace and carry on like old friends, but don't be fooled. This is business. Catching sight of us, he whoops a greeting and reaches into his jacket, taking out 2 bright wrappings. He waves them before us like you do to a dog before tossing a treat over, and I catch one. My brother gets the other, and we mutter thanks, and he smiles as if he's some good Samaritan before turning back to Mama, and the 2 drop the old friend act and get down to haggling. What you got? What you need? What's hot? How much you drop? Junk's that much? Better not be bad shit. I don't deal no bad shit, baby. That's why my junk ain't cheap. Guaranteed to make you fly. Cooking up a new batch right now. Have it to you by Friday if you can pay. Mama licks her lips, happily nodding. Friday then. Sugar Man grins a wolf's grin, looking hungrier. I turn myself, snatching the candy from Jamie's hand to throw it into the trash. Oh, didn't I tell you? Mama's what they call an addict. Let me introduce you to our house. It's called Deacon. That's the name written over the front door. We're Ducans now, but the house kept the name Mama's father gave it. I didn't know Grandpa Deacon all that well, and he died when I was 6. Jamie was just a baby. I remember the first time I saw his house, though. A big hulking thing with pilling paint and creaky wood in the middle of nowhere. It looked alive then, with windows like eyes and a door big enough to swallow us whole. I've expected to fall down a giant colt when I walked in, but instead there was this wiry man with crinkly skin, pale and thin as an eggshell, and he had a sharp nose and a thin mouth that looked cut into his face and wore a bright red coat over a dark suit. A black hat sat perched atop his head with a green feather tucked into the side as he sat in a grand chair of twisted metal and seemed too big for his bony frame, glaring at his returned daughter and grandsons. So, these little half-breeds? Those were the first words I remember from him. No hello, no where have you been, Julia, for the past 7 years. No kind grandfatherly smile and coin behind the ear trick like you see on TV. Instead, he took in our cashew-colored skin and thick curly brown hair. Jamie's eyes, though, surprised him. Father's a half-breed too, then? He asked. Guess that makes you 2 quarter breeds. There was a cackle then, and a dry, raspy thing that made my scalp itch. Seeing my set face, his laughing falters. He cocked his head to the side, staring at me like an old crow, and I realized then, unlike Jamie, I'd gotten his and Mama's eyes, like his poppy seeds. He seemed to notice this as well, and his thin lips twisted into a smile. Blood's blood, though, he drawled. And just like that, we were welcomed in his home, the place Mama had grown up and where she'd run from, only to return. I asked her about that once, and she just sighed and shrugged, calling herself a tossed about boomerang. But who tossed her, I asked, and she didn't answer. Living with Grandpa was a big shift from the cramped rooms we'd called home, and the house was bigger than anything I'd ever seen, and I loved to explore it. Back then, Jamie was too small, so I had to do it on my own. It was in my wandering that I found Grandpa's private places, where he met the people that came and went so often to the house. Men and women walked in on foot and drove in on broken-down heaps, and were even chauffeured up in fancy cars. Sometimes they left their kids out to sit with me. They were the ones who explained it. Grandpa was a witch, or a hoodoo man, or conjurer. All of them said something different. The old Deacon family came from magic, they said. Dark magic, summoned from the infernal powers, and bargains made with elder things that live in the shadows beyond our world. Most people were afraid of them. They always needed his help with something or another. Silly things like love potions and important things like money. Sometimes they came for worse purposes. One girl claimed a swarm of locusts that had ate up acres of crops one year had been his doing, so was the freak swarm of frogs that had buried alone a state senator's main rival in his own car right before election day. Another kid said Grandpa went digging in the graveyards at night, snatching up the souls of people who wronged it. The Deacons had gotten rich from their dealings, and Grandpa was able to build a big house way out here, away from everyone. It sat up on a hill like a castle out of a story, making all the townspeople climb up to see their wizard. I think he thought that would make them respect him, but when he died alone and slumped in his big metal chair, no one had come to his funeral. The only person who showed up was an old black man who owed him money. Said he wanted to settle debts to make sure old Deacon didn't set no homes. No heights on him. We walked back home in the front from the burial. Mama, for some reason, not wanting to take a car. The next day, a lawyer showed up to read Grandpa's will, and he'd left all his money to some library in a far place in Eastern Europe. The house he left for Mama. I sometimes think he did it just to keep her here, knowing his monstrous home would swallow her up. I ran through the hallway, Jamie at my heels, Mama's counting echoes in our ears, and we dashed up creaky stairs until we reached the top. This way! I turned into a room. Pressed against the alabaster wall is a mahogany wardrobe. It's old-fashioned, tall, with carved leaves along the edges, but what's important is the big blue marking painting on its front. I opened the door and pushed Jamie inside, entering after him and closing up. He opens his mouth to talk, but I put a finger to his lips. Mama stopped counting. She's searching now. Most of the noise comes from downstairs. Judging from the racket, I could tell she's really looking hard. Steps on the stairs tell me she's coming up. I put my hand over Jamie's mouth, pressing us flat against the back of the wardrobe. Footsteps run into a nearby room, then another. I hold my breath when they enter ours. They shuffle around for a while, but then run back. We relax, go into a crouch, and say nothing. I'm not sure how long we can stay in there, but my legs begin to cramp, and I shift my weight. Jamie almost falls asleep, but I give him a hard nudge. Sleep could lead to snoring, and that can be dangerous. As I stifle a yawn, my ears perk up with a sudden whimper. It's coming from inside the wardrobe with us. I look at Jamie, who shakes his head. The whimper comes again, this time louder, a mournful cry in the dark. I close my eyes and let a quiet curse. Not now, not now, please not now. The doors to the wardrobe fling open. Mama's there, angry and yelling. Something in me snaps and I yell back. Her open palm strikes my cheek, twisting my head sideways with numbness and pain. I clutch my face, trying to stop the water in my eyes, and Mama's screaming at me about how I need to get it together. Jamie starts swelling a snot and tears running free. It wasn't us, I say through gritted teeth. It was Daddy. Mama's tirade dries up on her tongue. She gives me a blank look before blinking. Your daddy's dead, she says flatly, turning away. Think you can hit that rock over there? Jamie asks. His breath sends vapor into the chill air. I point to Grandpa's old hunting rifle, my shooting eye open. Course I can. Not bragging, I'm a good shot. Mama taught me, and Daddy claimed she was the best he'd ever seen. Then why don't you shoot it? Because we ain't hunting birds today. Now be quiet. Jamie nods, looking disappointed. Mama used to teach us everything. She didn't trust the public schools these days, though. She doesn't teach much of anything except for hide and seek. Today's lesson is just as important. All right, then, I say. What do you see? Jamie follows my gaze. A pumpkin man in the pumpkin patch, he says. He's right. There's a big pumpkin patch alongside the house, and this time of year it's filled with great orange pumpkins. We used some of Grandpa's old clothes stuffed with bedding to make a scarecrow, and for a head we attached a pumpkin, even cut in 2 eyes and a jagged line for a mouth. Now watch me take aim, I say. Right for the head. Why the head? Jamie asks, troubled. Because it's there. I slide a finger around the trigger. No! Jamie puts a hand to mine, his voice pleading. Don't aim for the hand, please, Jacob. Hit her in the arm instead. I look down at him, scowling. He never wants me to aim for the head so damn soft, or maybe I think it's seeing his quivering eyes. I'm the one who's gotten too hard. Mama used to read us a story about a boy who got so mean his heart turned to stone. Maybe that's what's happening to mine. We could leave, you know, I say. Get away from all this. I'll be 12 in 6 more months. We could get on a bus or a train and nobody would ask us nothing. Maybe I could work. What about Mama? Jamie cuts in. His face is all worry and concern. Who would take care of her? I clench my teeth. I want to remind him she's the one who's supposed to be taking care of us. That we can't go on like this. That one of these days I'm going to leave. With or without him. But I don't know. Not all stone after all, I guess. With a sigh, I turn to take him again. This time lower, at the scarecrow's arm. It's a good shot. I jump into a shifter robe, Jamie at my heels. As he tries to enter, I stop him. Find your own place, I grumble. Can't keep following me around. His face breaks into panic. Normally that's all it takes, and I'd pull him inside, but this time I shake my head, closing the door, shut behind me with him on the other side of it. He gotta learn. I can still see his shadow outside, standing there. Run, stupid, I think, run. Finally he takes off. I listen to his small feet run around the house. It's disordered, going back and forth. I'm annoyed. Been teaching him the safe spots. By now, he should be able to find one himself. We've dragged chests and wardrobes from all over. Just find one. Mama's finished counting, and still he's running about. I hear his little footsteps on the stairs. Good, Jamie, I think. Head for one of the rooms. Find a place to hide. But then they stop midway and start back downstairs. What the hell is he doing? Sound of tumbling locks makes my eyes round. No, not the front door. I push open the shifter rope, jump out, and run into the hallway in time to see Mama hurtling toward Jamie. She reaches him just as he's about to flee outside, yanking him off the ground as the front door slams back shut. Holding his shoulders, she shakes him, screaming. He stares at her, scared out of his mind. I notice the wetness spreading across the front of his corduroy pants, and I don't know who to be more disgusted with. I yell for Mama to stop, but she's too far gone. You can't run outside, she screams. You can't ever run outside. It's open ground. There's no place to hide. You'll just get lost in the pumpkin patch, and you know what happens then. Mama makes a slurping sound with her wet mouth, like some animal, her voice going raspy. You'll get eaten up. Like this, I say, and stay inside the lines. Jamie nods, following my instructions. He's a little sloppy with the paint, but good enough. The cabinet's been sanded down on one door, where I used Haint blue chalk to draw the funny-looking marking. I glanced to the leather-bound book lying open on the floor, where an identical marking takes up a whole page. Do we need more than one? Jamie asked. Nope, I replied, but color it all in, every bit. Is that Grandpa Deacon's book? He asked. Who else's would it be? Found it in one of his secret rooms. Yep. I thought we weren't supposed to go in those. No, you're not. Okay, we're done. We stepped back, admiring our work. We found the cabinet in an outside shed. It's just big enough for Jamie to fit in. It'll be his personal hiding place. Where's the alarm clock? Jamie hands it over. It's old, with black painted numbers and big silver bells. I'll set it, I say, one in the back. 3 minutes should be enough. Opening the cabinet, I the clock inside, close the door, and step back. Almost immediately, the painted marking begins to glow, growing bright. There's a dull hum, and as we watch, the cabinet slowly fades away. In seconds, it vanished completely. I walk over, waving an arm in an empty space. "Where did it go?" Jamie asks. I shrug. "Don't know." "So, where will I go when I'm in there?" "Don't know that either." Jamie looks to Grandpa Deacon's book sitting on the floor. "It's that mark that does it." "Yeah," I say. "How do I get back?" "Same as always, just open the door from the inside." There's a moment of silence. "How come we can't find the cabinet now?" Jamie asks. I shake my head. "Don't really understand how a ghost box works. All I know is it's not there until you want it to be. Wait too long, you'll forget a cabinet was even ever there." "That's why we can't make noises when we're inside," Jamie says in recitation. "As long as we're quiet, nobody can find us." "Right," I answer. At that moment, there's a loud ringing. I look to the empty space and imagine the clock being in there before reaching out, wanting it to be there. This time, my hand finds a handle I can't see. When I pull it open, the cabinet appears out of thin air, as if it had been there all along. I quiet the ringing alarm clock sitting inside. Jamie beams, his eyes alight. "Magic's cool," he says. I smile despite myself. "Sometimes," I admit. There's a sudden crash. We turn to find a shattered vase on the floor. It had been sitting above the fireplace. How had it fallen? In answer, a picture of Grandpa Deacon turns on the wall, going sideways above us. A hanging lamp begins swaying like a pendulum. Somewhere close, someone is whimpering. "Daddy?" Jamie whispers. "Daddy?" I say. Yeah, magic can be cool, but most times it's not. So let me tell you about Daddy. Francois Emile Ducomte. Mama says he was what people back in the day called a quadrant. Everybody I remember just called him Francis. He come up from Louisiana and met Mama while playing music, and they ran off together, she said, and sometime along the way had the two of us, and they didn't have much money. And what little they did, they ended up using it to do all the kinds of wrong. Mama says she managed to keep sense enough to know when to leave, returning home, and Daddy didn't find us again until after Grandpa Deacon died. For a while back then, we were happy. Daddy started back playing music, and Mama got into the Deacon business doing readings, but it didn't last long. Daddy couldn't find no place to play his music regular. Not since Ronald Reagan became president, he'd complain. And folks didn't take to Mama like they did Grandpa. They wanted strong magic, not just knowing their fortune. Things got hard. That was when they got into the junk. That's when they call the leftover magic from spells and the pieces that are unneeded or thrown off. Way I understand it, when magic is made, little bits always fall off, like the slag you get from working metal, the junk. For Mom and Dad, it gave a high like nothing else. I was small, but I remember watching them get hooked. They spent up everything he had, sold off jewelry, furniture, but junk is dangerous, unpredictable magic, and I watched what it did to Daddy. We'd all watched as one night he began throwing up the red stuff in an upstairs room. At first it looked like blood, but we realized quick it was flesh. He was throwing up his innards, all flowing out of him like water, and Mama had clutched us. Two were trying to cover our eyes, and three of us screaming, but I'd peek through her fingers, needing to see, and Daddy's whole body turned inside out until a mound of flesh that no longer even looked like a man floated in front of us, stretching like he was being pulled in every direction, and somewhere what was left of his mouth began to whimper, grown into a well that filled the whole house. Then he stretched until he couldn't stretch no more, bursting to spray bits of him all over the room. No one ever went in there anymore, even after Mama scrubbed most of the stains clean, but Daddy hadn't gone entirely. Don't know if he's a ghost or if he's even properly dead. Best I figure. His spirit got torn up with his body and splattered everywhere. Whatever the junk did to him, he was still here with us, whimpering and wailing, trying to put himself back together like it did to Mama, Grandpa. Grandpa Deacon's house had trapped him in its walls and its wood, its very bones, and it didn't seem keen on ever letting him go. It's Friday. Sugar Man's back, just in time for dinner. He sits in the living room with a red cloth spread out on our creaky coffee table, showing off his goods, and Mom's eyes glaze over, staring at the little colorful glass tubes. That's too much frosting, I admonished Jamie. He doesn't pay me any mind, adding anything layered to chocolate cake. I shake my head and open the oven to check the fish sticks. Then I return to mashing the potatoes with a wooden spoon, keeping an eye on the local market. Sugar Man's a dealer, so he's good at haggling. Poor Mama's just a hungry addict, no match for him, and the little bit of money she got scraped together ain't enough. I'm hoping Sugar Man tells her no. Mama, she'll take it hard, be a mess for the next few days, but better that than the other thing. Jules! He draws her name. You gotta have something to trade. No more freebies, no more credit. Come on, Wayne, Mama begs. You can't leave me hanging like this. I need to get fixed up. You and Francis were friends. Sugar Man snorts. I was the same thing to him I am to you, darling. And like I said, no more freebies. Mama's face goes all tight. She hates hearing the truth. Sugar Man isn't her friend any more than he'd been Daddy's. Friends didn't sell you junk that made you spit up your insides. Seeing there'd be no sympathy, she tried something different, crouching down to smile at him. Mama's still pretty, but she ain't what she used to be. Her black curly ringlets are a tangled mess, and she's too thin, almost frail in the bright saffron dress she got on today. Except for the slight pout, she says. Me and Jamie left behind. Sugar Man looks her up and down like a man trying to decide the kind of meat he's in the mood for, but in the end he shakes his head. Sorry, baby. What you got to offer don't pay the bills. Mama's smile fades. She gives Sugar Man a long, hard stare before rising. Wait here, she says, then walks off, heading upstairs. I watch her go. Sugar Man turns to look at me and smiles. I don't return it. After a while, he gives up. Reaching into his jacket, he takes out a cigarette and a silver lighter engraved with a grinning skull. He flicks on a flame, but it dies like someone's blown it out. Sugar Man frowns, flicking the flame again with the same result. This time, the lighter jumps from his hand, skittering across the floor. Now I smile. Daddy has his ways. When Mama returns, she's holding a big wooden box. My heart drops. Grandpa's things from his secret rooms. Dropping the box, she opens it up for the Sugar Man to see, and he lets out a loud whistle. Oh, Deacon stash! He reaches down, pulling out things to hold up and eyeing them hungrily. One item he lingers on, a necklace made up of small, odd-shaped pearls I realize are teeth. Take what you want, Mama said. There's loads more where that came from, but I'll need a fix. She leans in close, and I don't want no bad shit either. I want the quality stuff. That's Artemis Deacon's collection right there, and it damn sure is worth something. Sugar Man gives a greedy smile. Good thing that Deacon magic didn't pass through to you, or you wouldn't need me to fix you up. He pockets a few things and nods to seal the deal. I watch the exchange take place until the buzzer on the oven rings. Fish sticks are ready. Jamie and I eat dinner quietly. Mama's at the table too, but she's not eating. Instead, she's sitting there, eyes fluttering, whispering to herself. Sugar Man's gone, but not before he and Mama went out back, where he used a needle to push the junk into her arm. Now she's caught up in the beginnings of the high. The plate in front of her might as well be empty. She won't be hungry, not now. Suddenly she gets up, standing there with a stupid smile. Her body sways back and forth like a puppet on strings. She's dancing. Mama used to dance. Jamie probably doesn't remember, but I do. She used to dance to Daddy's music or to no music at all. It was beautiful. Now it just seems unnatural, like she's possessed. On one turn she slips and almost falls, catching hold of a chair. A laugh escapes her throat and her eyes narrow in on the chocolate cake as if just noticing it. "Why is there cake?" she says dreamily. "It's my birthday," I say mockingly. It's not, of course, but the way her eyes round, she doesn't know the difference. "Happy birthday!" she exclaims, lurching to reach me, only sends her off balance. I rise just in time to catch her. Jamie gets up to hold her too. She's not heavy, not like this anyway. I nod to him, and we turn her around, beginning to walk. "Are we going?" she asks. "I want to stay for the party." We ignore her, helping her up the steps with skill that comes from habit. "Oh, little boys, what would I do without both of you?" She begins to sing a lullaby I haven't heard in years. We reach the top of the stairs and make our way to her room. "Your birthday and I missed it. What kind of mother am I?" On the count of 3, Jamie and I lay her down on the bed. She falls into the sheets, releasing a deep breath, and she does something surprising. She begins to cry. "I'm sorry," she sobs. "I'm so sorry for everything. I know it's hard with me, but I don't want to lose any of you. I don't want anyone to take you away, and I don't want to hurt you. I love both of you. Don't you know that? I love you so much." I'm a bit taken off guard by that, and I feel my lips readying to answer to tell Mama that I love her back despite everything, but I can't make the words come. There's just too much between us, too much in the way. The brief moment vanishes like a weak flame, leaving behind only darkness. I look down to find Mama's gone quiet, her eyes closing as she drifts off. Jamie's staring at me expectant, but I only shrug. It's just junk talking. I wake up suddenly, hand gripping my rifle. The only sound is the TV showing some infomercial for the Secret Love album. "Reunited" by Peaches and I'm crooning softly into the late night. Looking over, I see the other side of the couch is empty. Jamie. I bolt up flat, looking around. There's a hint of light upstairs, Mama's room. Take the steps fast, reaching the second floor, where in the hallway one door is slightly ajar. When I pat my back pocket is empty. The brass key I used to lock the door missing. Damn it, Jamie. Taking a deep breath, I step inside. I find him sitting cross-legged on the floor. The key is gripped in one hand while his eyes are fixed on Mama. I have to admit, who can blame him? Her pale skin glows like moonlight, filling the whole room. It casts shadows off the many markings etched in the bright chalk on the walls and floor, circling her iron-framed bed in the swirling pattern. "She's beautiful," Jamie whispers. I nod. It's the junk, brewed up from the leftover bits of magic. Takes away your troubles, makes you feel more alive than ever, finds all your happiness and fills you up with it until you're near to bursting. Thing is, though, magic's unpredictable. Grandpa said we deacons got magic in our blood, wild and hard to control, and when you go mixing it with something like junk, you never know what that wildness might bring out. Which brings us back to the beginning. I open my eyes, watching Mama shake, the scarlet lines now covering her completely. Sometimes you get a hold of some really strong junk, leftover magic that's just jumbled and twisted up, no telling what it might do. For Daddy, it had turned his body inside out and ripped his spirit to shreds. For Mama, though, it was different. There's a sickening cracking and breaking, and Mama's bones and muscles are growing, shifting, making her larger. Silver scales break out over her skin like hives, and her slender fingers grow long too, until they end in curved steel claws. Dark ringlets of hair turn into thick, fleshy things like tentacles, while black curving horns jut out of her back. Glistening in the night, her mouth stretches wide, wider than it should be able to, opening to show 3 rows of teeth, working like a saw. Dripping blood as she chews on her tongue, she twists her head, fixing us with her eyes as hard as black marbles. I clench my teeth, putting a hand on Jamie. He gets up, backing away. Then Mama gets like this. She no longer recognizes us. Already she started thrashing about on the bed, markings on the walls and floor hold her for now, but they're stretching as she strains against them. Sooner or later, she'll break free, and she'll be hungry. As I pull Jamie out of the room, Mama screams at us. It sounds like 1,000 terrible things howling at once. I shut the door, locking it, and we run. We make it down the stairs, just as we hear Mama crashing down from the bed, rattling the floorboards, and Jamie ahead of me, and in his panic reaches for the front door, and I'm about to yell out to him, but he stops on his own, turning back. His eyes are wide with terror, but his voice is level. "Can't go outside," he says. "It's open ground. Mama will eat us. She'll eat us up right in the pumpkin patch." I nod in relief. He understands. Good. Upstairs, something heavy throws itself against the bedroom door. Mama, snarling to get loose. I swing my rifle around and start the count. This isn't a drill. Not tonight. 1, 2, 3. We practiced this. Hell, we've done it before. 4, 5, 6. Find a place to hide. Stay quiet. The junk will wear off by dawn. 7, 8, 9. We just gotta make it till dawn. We reach the shift robe in the downstairs room. I jump in. Jamie eyes his own nearby, but it's clear he wants to be with me. Pulling him in, I shut the door from the inside and cock my rifle at the ready. Together we sit in silence, trying not to tremble, barely daring to breathe, waiting for Mama to come looking for us. Our very own game of hide and seek. Well, thank you so much once again for hanging out with me tonight. It was my pleasure hanging out and hopefully entertaining you. Thank you to all of my friends out there, wherever you may be listening, Beyond the Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time, and I can't wait to do it again. Planning on tomorrow night, since I missed last night because I was doing overnight security. Maybe tomorrow afternoon. We'll see. Don't forget, you guys, we are all in this together. Together, we can make the world better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. Make sure you subscribe, like, leave comments, email me. I have to check my email again. I think it is super full of junk mainly. There's a couple people that I need to get back to. This coming week we're going to Denver, so I'll try to get to it before then. But the Gmail, if you need to send me a request or tell me your story or anything like that, is weareparadoxmedia@gmail.com. Feel free to send it there. Or if you prefer the paper route, you can send it to P.O. Box 663, Bayfield, Colorado 81122. 99, love and light. Take care of my youth, and I will see you back here. Same crazy place. And perhaps a different perilous crazy time.